All right, everything looking good on my end. Should be going live here any second. Let's go ahead and get this stream rolling. Sorry for any confusion or anything. I did forget about daylight savings time, so we had ours today or last night, however you want to look at it. I have not decided if I'm going to alter the time of the streams and go what amounts to 1 hour earlier my time. So it lines up with the close, or if I'm just going to keep it on my time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. But I will make sure to post the other stream like notification ahead of time so people can be prepared for it at least. And then I'll let you guys know in the group whatever I decide before Wednesday. So, but for everyone tuning in, let's go ahead and get started here. So, welcome back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader, with our Sunday evening market outlook. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. It is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on 11/7/2021. I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to mix it up just a little bit here. I will talk about Bitcoin and what's going on here real briefly. Obviously, we are seeing a little pump coming in. It's already up at 60, depending if you're looking at futures or regular. It's up over like 65,000. I know exactly why it's pumping right now. I'm sure people are speculating left and right what's going on here. Typically, we do have like a sell-off going into Sunday's stream and like a little bit of a pump throughout the week. But a little different this week as we saw a little bit of strength coming in right before the close. And then now we're seeing basically up already 3% on the day, just in the last like roughly 1 hour. So obviously a strong beginning to the week. There's a clear, easy, very simple reason why it's pumping right now. If you just go to CoinMarketCap or anything else like that and look for some unusual activity, you can find, as almost always, that everything points back to one single thing and one single thing alone, and that is Tether. We have noticed, and I've pointed out quite a few times over the last couple months, really over this year, some unusual and extremely shady activity in Tether. Lately, we have seen a ridiculous amount of like 24-hour volume on Tether. The market cap of Tether was roughly like 64 billion, and we've been noticing like 24-hour like trade volume of like 60, 70, 80 billion, implying that every Tether was traded at least one time, 64 billion of them in a single 24-hour period, which is obviously ridiculous. I mean, if you think that that's normal, that's fine, whatever. You're like, oh, but the bots, the algorithms. Well, if you go to literally any other stable coin or any other crypto, it's a fraction of a percentage. Like if you look at like USD coin or something like that, you'll see like the 24-hour trade volume on USDC is like 25% of circulating supply, and often on Tether it's 100, 125, 150. But actually that's not the case this time. The 24-hour volume traded on Tether this time is right around 64 billion, which normally would be about 100%. So while it is uncharacteristically high, it's low for Tether's craziness. Unfortunately, if you just look around a little bit and you check out the total market cap of Tether, you will notice that the market cap of Tether has gone from 64 billion, which it was like this previous week, to about 78 billion, 70 something billion. So they managed to magically print 25% extra Tether, or mint 25% extra Tether in the last few days. So while the market cap is still trading right around 100%, we'll notice that the actual, or the 24-hour circulating supply, we'll notice that the actual market cap has increased by roughly like 16 billion. It might have been 62 billion and then it went to 78 or 76. I can't remember, but the fact of the matter is 25% more money didn't just all of a sudden fall into Tether like overnight. They didn't just all of a sudden have 25% more like interest for Tether. Somebody didn't just come in and say, hey, I'll take 16 billion Tether because I'm going to buy Bitcoin. That didn't happen. They're clearly up to no good once again. I know no one cares because we're all crypto bulls here, so we want Bitcoin to go up. We don't care how it goes up. We don't care if it's shady activities, accounting. We don't care if Tether gets audited. All we care about in the crypto/Bitcoin space is just our bags going up. So for everybody out there, I mean, let's hooray it. And hopefully Tether prints another, 50 billion or whatever. I'd like to see Tether at 100 billion circulating supply by like next week or something like that. I think that could easily skyrocket Bitcoin's price up to like 80, 90, maybe even 100,000. So we'll all just keep rooting for Tether. Everybody tweet out to Tether, mint away, mint the coin, whatever you want to do. Hashtag mint the coin. I think that was trending recently. I'm not sure if that was about Tether, but hey, go ahead, let's do it. But yeah, while Bitcoin just pumps, I did want to start this stream off with a little something different. So I'm going to actually jump into just a quick recap of a couple of stocks that we have done particularly well in the last week or so. Just a little reminder that this channel actually provides useful information. And while this is not financial advice, I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile. Please do your own research and trade responsibly. You will notice that most of these stocks have been talked about quite a bit recently by people, but you'll notice also that they're only getting talked about after the big move, but that is not the case here. So let's start with Nvidia. So obviously I have been talking about Nvidia all year long, how it is literally the best company, one of the top performers, and in basically the last 2 weeks, it has shot up from just over $200 to it just peaked out here at 315. So it basically went up from, let's say, 200 to 300 roughly in about a little over 2 weeks, up 50%. And I was literally just banging the drum on Nvidia and how if you don't currently have a position in Nvidia, you need to have a position in Nvidia. Obviously not financial advice, but my personal opinion. Obviously, semiconductor space has been just booming this year, and boom, there you go. So up 50% in basically a week, up 100% in a couple weeks. So next is the opposite. The same way I've been banging the drum on semiconductors and AMD. A little overvalued, but Nvidia specifically, or some of the other like ETFs and whatnot. I want to talk about Intel. You will notice that, a lot of the quote unquote top like mainstream analysts and everything have been talking about Intel and how it's undervalued and all this stuff. And I literally said, through this range right here when it was trading in the mid 50s and even the pump up to like 55, 56, that it would be down in the 40s very, very soon. And then of course we got the gap down like the next day or a couple days later off the rejection of the 200 exponential and simple. Again, I long term think Intel can get their shit together, but right now they are trash. So just being able to once again, get out of the way basically of depending where, if you're saying from the 200 to where bottom, quick little 15% move down, 14% move down. Does it come back up here and close the gap? Maybe. Long term though, once again, my target for Intel is definitely to the downside as it is still exhibiting triple bearish divergence on the monthly, and overall just sucks. It's horrible. Next is Zillow. Obviously, everybody's been talking about Zillow lately, talking about how great Zillow is and how amazing it was. And I literally specifically pointed out that we were about to get rejected off the 200 simple and 200 exponential and expected it to be down in the low 60s very quickly and possibly even lower. You heard like mainstream media, beating the drum about Zillow and how it was going up, it was going to pump. And then all of a sudden Zillow starts coming out saying that their house flipping business isn't working. They're going to stop doing it. They're going to lay off 25% of their people. They're going to miss earnings, all this stuff. I was literally calling that out ahead of time. I heard a bunch of anecdotal like stories basically from people that were listing their house on Zillow and getting, 10, 20+% over what they were listing it on. Like otherwise, and not selling, and then they would put it on Zillow, and the Zillow algorithm would just say, yeah, we'll give you 20% higher than that. Well, it's obviously an unsustainable model. If you look at some of like the other like main YouTubers, like Meet Kevin and stuff like that, people that have like explicit like experience in flipping houses or in real estate, whatnot, once again, they were able to completely point out like some of these red flags. Didn't really hear them talking about it until afterwards, obviously, but more importantly, the fact of the matter is they're able to explain some of the stuff better than me. The margins are very low on house flipping. You have to really know what you're doing. And the chances are if somebody's going through like a bot or an algo, you know, they're probably trying to like hide something. And then also like the inspector that comes out and looks at your house doesn't have like the same motivation to make sure as like an actual buyer does that the house doesn't have anything wrong with it. And if you're already looking at like tight margins and then all of a sudden you have a surprise 10, 20, 30, $50,000 you know, setback, there goes your profit margin down the hole. So but we'll notice that, you know, basically from that point of rejection to the lows down here, again, peak to trough, not realistic, but like 40% dump. So once again, saw that one happening ahead of time, specifically discussed it with targets to the downside. Do I think it comes back up, closes the gap? Well, we'll have to get to that later on. But the fact of the matter is 40% dodged on that one. Next, once again, everybody talking about Bed Bath & Beyond. I was discussing Bed Bath & Beyond back here, how I was putting in a giant descending triangle, talking about how trashy, how horrible, how absolutely phenomenally bad the numbers are, the valuation, everything, just the asset to book value. I mean, this thing is just total trash. And then all of a sudden we get the breakdown from the descending triangle. Of course, no one was talking about Bed Bath & Beyond. Everyone had forgotten it even existed. Matter of fact, I don't even know if they still have stores. Once again, 40% dump to the downside. And then on top of that, not only did I call the perfect dump down 40% into our like, you know, teen range at $13, but I actually was able to quote unquote predict or call the move back up and, you know, the gap fill as well, which, you know, actually completely overperformed what I was expecting, but was able to capture over 66% move to the upside. You know, once again, just a retest back to the 200 exponential and simple. So, you know, once again, called it on the way down and the way back up. And again, nobody else talking about Bed Bath & Beyond. And then all of a sudden, boom, it pops off and it's on everybody's mouth. Next in line, Peloton. I've literally been laying out the price action on Peloton for week after week, month after month, about how trashy this is, about how useless it is, how it is literally the Nordic track of our generation, and how it will literally go down, I called low 50s. And then once again, Peloton coming up on earnings. I specifically discussed how this earnings beat right here, this little pump right here, was coming up and was going to get rejected. Specifically talked about how this was going to send us down to the downside. We got the little pump based on like the little, they're going to make some sweatpants suits, they're going to make some headbands, whatever. But once again, specifically, and I mean perfectly, called the drop in Peloton. Trash bag company, useless. They can't build anything. They're talking about building factories now, you know, in the United States because they can't get their stuff. They can't deliver the one crappy product that they have. They discount their main product line. Once again, 40% drop in a single gap down candle. Doesn't even give you a chance to exit. Once again, boom, nailed that one ahead of time. Now everybody's talking about Peloton, how it's junk, all the problems with it, how they had an earnings miss, etc. You know, but your boy here ahead of time. Next in line, Snapchat. Once again, perfectly called Snapchat. I did not expect it to hang out this long up here. I even talked about how this looked like a throw over rejection. We gave back the entire move. And then once again, we had a gap down after earnings. After an earnings beat, we had a gap down. And specifically, I was talking about this gap right here and how I expected it to come down and fill at least down to 63. I'd overshot that and came down here to roughly like 52. And we'll notice once again, not even from peak to trough, just from like the gap to the bottom, over 31% dump back to the downside. You know, again, waiting for the opportunity to come back up and capture the move to the upside on the gap fill. But over 30% dump right there. Nobody was talking about Snapchat. Nobody was saying, oh, Snapchat's getting ready to dump. It's going to pour out. Nope, of course not. But now, once again, everyone talking about Snapchat. Next in line is Pinterest. Very similar situation as well. You know, broke down from below the 200 exponential and simple. Spoke about the gap fill and the attempt to push back up to close it. We fell short of the gap fill and got rejected off the 200 exponential and simple. Then once again spoke about how I expected this to dump back down and that this would get rejected. And once again, we're able to capture the moves, not only to the upside, but, you know, get out of the way of the downside moves as well. So just from like the top up here to the bottom, again, like over 35% move to the downside, was able to perfectly nail that one. And then once again, expecting a potential, you know, attempt to come back up and fill that gap, possibly even as high as 72. But now here we are down in the mid 40s. Once again, nobody talking about this. Earnings beat and they still sold off massively. How did I do it? Well, it's got to be the magic 8 ball, or maybe I'm just lucky every time. And then finally, just spoke about this one on our previous stream on Wednesday, specifically talking about Airbnb and my firsthand experience with it, with a couple of my close friends owning quite a few Airbnbs. Now, granted, it's a limited sample size, as they're in my city as well, but specifically was talking about how they had completely jacked up their prices, how they were getting massive amount of bookings and a bunch of like pent up demand showing up, and how I expected this to just absolutely destroy on earnings. And once again, you will see that in a single candle, or just in the last couple of days, we basically saw it shoot up another 16%, almost back to revisit the all-time highs. So what will it do after that? Will it maintain? Will it come back down, fill the gap? Well, we'll have to see all that in time. I like to, obviously, after I capture a move, after I participate in like a nice burst to the upside or whatever, or to the downside, I like to just sit back and let the charts develop a little bit. But I did want to specifically talk about these couple of stocks, and then obviously we had that over 100% move on BAT last week. Quite a few, just one after another, just been nailing these markets, trading very, very technically, capturing all these moves, not everyone from peak to trough. Sometimes we miss out, but laying it out just so they can play out for not only myself, obviously the trade group, and then the community as well. So just wanted to touch on that real quick. Just going to do a quick snippet for this, and I will, put it out on the channel sometime this week as well. But let's get into our regular technical analysis. I do want to remind you, though, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. So we can get that bad boy out of the way right there and jump into it. So and again, that's not meant to be like a told you so type situation or whatever. But sometimes, like, I know a lot of people don't want to sit through like a 2-hour or 3-hour stream or whatever, or just don't have the time or ability or care to. But the reason I do these long streams is specifically just to help educate people. The idea of doing everyday technical analysis and coming on and doing like 1 or 2 streams a day, to me is like pointless, because then what am I looking at? I'm looking at like 12-hour period, what I expect to happen. When I do these like 2 times a week for an extended period of time, I provide all of the different information you might need to get you like through those few days or that week or whatever, and lay out like a lot of the like macros, why I'm expecting something to happen. And not only that, but obviously like teaching you how and why I'm doing certain things and why I'm expecting certain things to happen, etc. So obviously we had the Fed meeting recently. They did decide to do the taper, 15 billion per month, as discussed, as expected, etc. One thing I did not touch on last week, though, afterwards, and it only sort of occurred to me, was they basically only committed to 2 months of it. Initially, Powell sounded like they were going to do 10 in mortgage-backed, 10 in treasuries and 5 in mortgage-backed securities until there was no more purchases being made of the 150 billion. So basically the next 10 months. But if you really listen to what he really said, we're going to start this month, November, and then we're going to do it in December, and then we're going to see how it looks. So really they committed to like 2 months of it, and then they're going to like see how it looks. So we don't even know if that's going to be like, August next year or whatever when it's finished. So just worth a note there. But obviously the treasury yields dumped after that. Came back down, retesting the 200 simple as support. Still overall bullish on this. This is not really a surprise to me. You could argue we're starting to develop some kind of like, triangle or flag pattern or whatever. Overall, this still looks the same. Until we start like breaking down from, this is basically our handle. We have the descending channel. We have the ascending triangle break. We have the measure move back up to resistance. Until we start breaking down below the 618 and then potentially like threatening the 0.5, I won't be like skeptical of this. It still looks okay to me for now. If we do come down here and revisit the 0.5, or potentially hit our target, which, was initially my target down here, and we just underperformed to the downside. If we come all the way back down to like 1, I will not be surprised, but I would say at that point in time, we have invalidated the inverted head and shoulders or cup and handle position. So at this point in time, you don't want to come all the way back to neckline and then come back down and put in a lower low. So that will tell me there's something big going on here. Now on the daily, this was not unexpected, as we did get the sell by sell off of resistance right here, the divergence signal, bearish divergence, a bunch of red histograms, bearish divergence from peak to peak, here on the TJD, TDMACD, and then of course now we have flipped over the slope line red, all red histograms below the zero line. So it looks like this is basically going to go sideways to down for an extended period of time. What I would want to see here, ideally, if you want to say bullish on the Treasury yield on the 10-year, you want to see it like either capture the 200 exponential and simple and, find support around there, the heart line potentially, but most importantly, we just want to see it put in a higher low than that previous low right there. But overall, still looks okay on the daily. If we look at the weekly, it does look like a rejection. We have the high right here. We have a lower high here, and we're getting basically rejected off of the blue slope line. Now, is it possible it still rallies up and breaks through it? 100%. It definitely is possible. But typically coming into the bullish control zone and a rejection like that is going to lead to further like sideways action. So once again, though, rejection off the 200 exponential. Potentially could consolidate here and then burst up to 200 simple. That's what typically would happen. And then at that point in time, the market decides it's going to go up or down. But, again, we have to be real careful with treasuries and the yields because policy is going to determine this as much as like the actual market is as well. So, but the main thing we're looking at here on the monthly is most importantly, what we want to see. We have the green histogram above the red slope line. If we just go sideways here long enough, this flips over blue and we go into a trending move to the upside. But realistically, we want to see this maintain the green slope line, the 821 cross to the upside. So it can go down below 1.4 with the wick, potentially with the close like it did right here. But we don't want to see this start trending back down to the downside. And then obviously we see the blue stochastic has come all the way up to the bullish control zone. Got basically like a rejection at the 80. Happens all the time. Typically you'll come back down, recharge, and then push back up to like the higher high, which obviously our target's still up here around like 2.75 or so. But again, policy could change any of this, in any amount of time. TLT, so obviously saw a little gap up here on the 20-year. Obviously this is going to trade inverse to rates. Looks like now at least we have recaptured the 200 exponential. If we stay up here long enough, we will flip the 200 simple back over and bonds will continue to rally to the upside. We are starting to see, though, flattening of the curve here. The yield curve on like the short term versus long term. So if we look at like a 1 or 3 or 5 or something like that, compared to like our 30-year, we'll notice that basically like the rates between the short term and the long term are basically tightening, getting closer together. There's less of a spread between them. So eventually what that can or possibly will lead to is an inversion of the yield curve, which obviously is very bad and typically will be a precursor or lead to recession or depression potentially. Oil, once again, broke down here. We did find support at the 236, which is always obviously our initial target for the step down. So if we take our low back here from the retest of the 200 exponential moving average in mid-August to our high right here just a few days ago on the 25th, we take our Fibonacci from the bottom to the top. We expect to come down here and find support at the 236. You see we close here, open back here again. We're pushing back up. So what we would expect for this to happen is typically once we touch the 236, it confirms that this is at least a local high. So we would expect this to come back up here, put in a lower high, and then continue to the downside. Typically, we will find support at either a macro fib level, which would be the green here at 77.14, or at least like the 382. 382 would be a retest basically of that previous top as well. So anywhere around this area is what I'm expecting. Is it possible oil continues to rally and just goes to the upside and that was it for the pullback? Or it definitely is, definitely possible. But that's what we're expecting to play out. Something around, that's what we're expecting to play out. Something around either the green macro fib level or the 382. So, but overall, hard sell on oil, bunch of red histograms below the slope line now. So at this point in time, it looks like we'll probably just chop sideways, put in some sort of like descending channel or flag, and then continue to the upside, in my opinion. So now here at the Dow Jones, had a nice little gap up here. I don't like to see a gap up like this and then over 50% of the move to be sold off. We have to be careful because this starts looking like, a potential like island reversal, which essentially is like a gap up, a push to the upside, unsustainable. It sells back off and then leaves something like this. Sometimes it will be a 3 candle pattern. Sometimes it'll just be like one doji or one rejection candle. Sometimes it looks more bearish than other. This one is still green, so it looks okay. But the fact that the wick is at least the length of the remaining wick or longer than the body is, in my opinion, bearish, whether it's green or red. Is it sustainable? Could we come back down here and then continue to the upside? We definitely could. But I'm expecting at least a push back down here, and then we'll have to see what happens. We could either easily try to push back up, potentially put in a new high, and then come back down. We could easily just gap straight back down. Anything could happen. This would be obviously like a shooting star, very bearish version, of a topping pattern. We see that like multiple times. But, we eventually just keep climbing higher. And I do expect the stock market to continue climbing higher. I think this is going to be a short-term pullback, to say the least. S&P has reclaimed our support area. We broke down from that yellow support. Obviously we have reclaimed it now. Again, sort of similar. This one obviously red. Arguably more bearish, but the wick is smaller on top. So this one's a little bit more of a doji and, less of a, less wick on top. But it has sold off over 50% of the price move. And then again, it came down, basically filled the gap, and then moved back up. So still, though, potential for a temporary top at least. We're obviously at like unsustainable levels as well. You could see, obviously, this maxes out at 100, and we're right here at 97.8. So probably at least going to see some kind of consolidation or something like that, which honestly I would probably expect to just come back down here slightly and then just kind of go sideways. NASDAQ, new high. Again, same type of thing. Nothing different here. Once again, unsustainable levels. I mean, NASDAQ's stochastic up here at 98.4. Like pretty much the highest high we could ever have. Reclaimed, once again, that key support level right there off of our previous retest of the breakout of the triangle. So, that's what you want to see. You want to see a break, a retest, and then continuation. And we did. We continued to a new high, hit the measure move of the triangle, and that's where we're at right now. So, once again, still very bullish on the stock market overall, index-wise, because of a few stocks. So the Russell has been consolidating all year round. Now everyone's talking about the Russell, obviously. This could be meme stock driven. I am still very bearish on like the actual stocks inside of the Russell and smaller companies and everything. But we've been discussing and expecting this to happen basically off of the support of the 200 exponential and simple. And now we do expect the measure move of our channel that we've been sideways trading in to play out. Is it possible this underperforms? Yeah, it is definitely. But I would expect the Russell to make its way up here to roughly like 25, 65. Is it possible we come back down, get a retest? This holds or breaks, and that's it. It was a failed breakout, throw over. It 100% is possible. And again, I'm not interested in the Russell myself, but it is important to kind of take a look at it and see what's going on. But overall, not unexpected once we took out the highs, once we broke out of the channel to see that measure move play out. And also, this thing's more bearish on the longer time frames because it's just been going sideways, but on the shorter time frames, it has a little more room to run. So XLB, material sector, basically had a descending triangle building. We were able to break out of the descending triangle. Typically, this is going to break to the downside like 66% of the time, 33% of the time to the upside. But in this case, we broke out, got the retest, and now we're seeing that continuation. We do expect the continuation to be the measure move of the triangle and take us up here to like 94. And with the potential for, I think at this point in time, if you asked, 100 people or 1,000 people or, whatever, if you polled intelligent people that are involved in stock market, the economy, etc. People that are educated, not just like random people off the street or like from a college campus. I think you would, at this point in time, get a 50-50 split or somewhere close to it of inflation versus deflation arguments. And I think there's a legitimate argument to be made for both of them. And typically, materials going to do very well, commodities, utilities, energy during an inflationary period. So there's an argument to be made both ways right now. And I think that the fight is going on and people are trying to decide which one it is. You guys know how I feel. I feel like long term, we're going to have, at least mid to long term, we're going to have some deflationary pressures. but we're also going to see inflationary pressures. Like, I think that necessities in people's lives, food, housing, important stuff that people need, the price is going to go up and continue to go up. I think asset prices will eventually deflate. Used cars, actual like house prices, higher end, vehicles, sports cars, stocks, etc. We will see like some of the air come out of them, cryptos, all that good speculative stuff. But I think it's going to be a combination of the two, as we've been discussing forever, especially as we see some of the bottlenecks in the system, start to, basically alleviate, which may take 3 months, 6 months, a year. I think it's going to incentivize countries, not only the United States, but many countries to basically like pull back, a lot of like manufacturing, production, etc. to their own countries. I think this is the last 50, 75, 100 years have been all about, globalization. I think now we're going to see that trend has peaked, and now we're going to be going into nationalization. And specifically, I had been talking about this for some time, especially discussing like semiconductors and production and food and whatnot, about how, it's not sustainable to sacrifice. I mean, there's an argument to be made that basically what we have done is we have traded resiliency for profitability. We gave up a bunch of resiliency in our supply chain, in our production, in our manufacturing, all over the world. People did, countries did, in order to make the most profits. So we outsource things to cheap labor all around the countries that we shouldn't be outsourcing. Like every country should probably, large countries should be making at least some of their own semiconductors, because they're, important part of everything. Their own food, their own necessities. But that has not been the case, and I think that's going to be the trend that changes over the next, 25, 50, 100 years. So XLC, again, we saw a little gap up here. It was able to maintain above the 821, underperformed to the downside slightly here. But as long as we're back on top of the 8 and 21, this looks like it's going to continue to the upside. That was communication, XLY, consumer discretionary, overperforming already the measure move. We're expecting the break of our ascending wedge right here. Got the measure move, hit our target, and now just continuing to the upside. Once again, this thing is probably very close to at least a short-term peak, as it has reached like 97 on the stochastics. All green histograms though, very powerful uptrend. But again, we're seeing like, a potential toppling looking candle. And the mentality just behind a single candle like this is not nearly as strong as like a pattern, especially one that's been playing out, or like a 3 candle or 5 candle like, structure. But, all this is saying is basically we gapped up, started moving to the upside, and then, sellers took advantage of that, and then we closed back at the open, and it looks like basically a at least temporary rejection of higher prices. XLE energy, obviously with oil pulling back and everything, this is just kind of going sideways right now. Bunch of red histograms. We have the sell by sell divergence signal at top of the range, expecting obviously a sell off or at least sideways, reaccumulation or consolidation. We're not seeing the red histograms, slightly moving below the slope line. So we could get a further pullback right here. Initial target to downside be like 56 for like that previous high to hold. XLI, industrial sector, again, saw a gap up here. Now, technically we did gap outside of that range. We've been once again trading inside of this. We did see, though, previously a push down outside of our little channel here. So it's not unrealistic to think we do the same thing on the top here and potentially get rejected. But with the infrastructure package passing and everything, this could be the breakout, the actual breakout. Consolidation and then continuation. If it does break out and consolidate and we do get that continuation, I would expect this up here at like 112 to our next like macro fib around like 115. You guys know that I have obviously like some serious targets up here. Basically for the macro topping out at about like 122. But with the at least the real infrastructure bill passing, not the whatever you want to call it, social infrastructure or whatever made up socialist, communist infrastructure thing they have going on now. This legit infrastructure. Now, how much of that actually goes into, supposedly 500 billion of the 1.5 or 1.75 trillion or whatever is going to go into like roads and bridges. So, I mean, what does that really mean? Probably like 100 $1,000 will like actually get used, and the rest are like line politicians' pockets in the corrupt system that is, basically government. So XLF, financial sector, we fell slightly short of our top here that we were expecting at like 41. Does it come back up here and touch that? It probably does. These things are typically like pretty spot on. But if we do potentially top out here, I would expect somewhere around here like 39 or so to hold. We're getting the hard sell signal, left the bullish control zone, bunch of red histograms. We do still have the blue slope line, but at this point in time, it could go either way, to tell you the truth. I typically like to see these come up here and tag our targets perfectly. Even if it would have topped out exactly at the 1.5, I would have been okay with that. But to fall short in between the 1.5 and 1.618 tells me this thing probably reloads, comes back up here, and then we put in like our temporary top. So, but overall, I don't have to tell you guys. Obviously, as long as interest rates are going down, it's going to feel some headwinds. But as long as the stock market's going up, it's going to have some nice tailwinds. So if it gets both of those things as headwinds or both of those things as tailwinds, we'll see a powerful move in one direction or the other, either up or down. But as long as you have one pushing forward and one pushing backwards, you're basically just going to get sort of like a stagnation or like just the, kind of zigzag action going on like we're seeing right now. XLK tech, obviously tech looking good, especially, we know that technology typically has the highest valuations. Many of the companies in the tech sector are not even profitable. So it's not, obviously as rates are coming down, tech has like a little less headwinds. So it's able to run. And obviously, we're seeing most of the strongest names inside of the indexes are in fact tech names. Most of the tech names are not strong, but most of the strong names in the market are tech names. So, .com bubble all over again. Sure. But, just because we see a bubble and it's getting bigger and bigger does not mean it's going to pop. Not anytime soon. Could it pop tomorrow? Sure. Could it go on for another 12, 18 months? 100%. 100% can go on another 12 or 18 months. I would not be surprised if the stock market continues to just surge to the upside, crack up, boom, cryptos, etc., for another year or so. Now, with cryptos, obviously a little more pressure with like the halving cycle and 4-year cycle, and it literally playing out perfectly every time. But for the stock market, it does not operate in the same way. But would it surprise me if crypto just never had a big sell off and just continued to the upside? No. I mean, we're living through shit that they're going to write books about. Like they're going to make movies about this the same way they did about the .com bust, about the mortgage housing crisis, about the Great Depression, about all this stuff. They're gonna write all kinds of books, all kinds of movies. People will look back on what's going on and say, "Holy shit! I can't believe this was going on. I can't believe people put up with that. I can't believe all the corruption, et cetera, et cetera." But the fact of the matter is, we're living through it right now, and these things always you like look back and say, "Oh yeah, we knew," but it can go on for years and years. So not a good idea to try to pick tops and bottoms in general. XLP, consumer staples, revisiting the highs right here. I do expect this to chop sideways slightly and then break through it. I think this is going to keep going up. We're flipping the slope line back over blue. We're in the bullish control zone. We went sideways for a little bit, put in that slightly higher high, came all the way back down, retested it. So now we basically have, what amounts to a giant, broadening wedge. So, we have a flat bottom support, and then we have a ascending resistance. The measure move break of the channel would potentially take us up to this red box here, which depending on when we get there is going to line up with our ascending top. So, at this point in time, I expect us to come up here to like 75 or so. Again, not going to see like massive moves in this, but overall, I expect continuation. XLU utilities, basically just chopping up here, just grinding to the upside, finding a little bit of weakness right here, rally back above the 8 and 21, but I do expect continuation to the upside. We are seeing longer term. We are seeing a hard sell signal come in here. We are above the zero line. We're above the slope line. It is still red. We are seeing some red come in on the histograms here, showing that we're maybe losing some strength here. But, we can look at this and tell that it's basically just slowly consolidating its way up. So, target to the downside, potentially all the way down here, probably find support at like 65 on the 200 exponential and simple, but more realistically than not, I think we get the continuation to the upside and probably a retest of like 72 or so sometime in the near future. But, again, this one is more of a safe haven play. So as long as we're in a risk on market, these like risk off plays or less risky plays are not going to see the same type of upward movement that you would expect as people are just jumping in like all the momentum stuff. XLRE, real estate, again, back up here, retesting the highs. Technically, yeah, I mean, looks good. We're seeing some weakness come in, hard sell. We're seeing a couple red flags as prices on houses appear to be like cooling. We obviously have like the Zillow blow up. This one could go either way. I don't think we're just going to see some massive like dump in real estate and the market's just going to crash. I mean, I know that, not overnight. Over time, maybe, but not overnight. Like people are calling for like, oh, it's going to go to zero. Those are the people that missed out. Most of them probably don't even have enough money to buy a house anyway, weren't even looking to buy a house anyway, but now they just feel like it's out of grasp. Like, imagine a little kid holding a balloon and he loves his balloon, and then his sister has a cooler balloon and lets go of her balloon, and then all of a sudden the kid's like, I want that balloon, and it's just flying away. But kid had no interest in the balloon until it was floating away. And that's how I feel about the housing market. People just feel like the balloon is just out of sight as long as it's going to the upside. So that's why they're like praying for it to go down. But most of those same people, if it came down, wouldn't be buying a house. Wouldn't matter. And the truth is, with housing, there's no reason for it to come back down. There's no reason for the air to come out of the housing bubble. I was talking about this the other day with one of my buddies. It's in all government's best interest to allow asset prices, house prices, stock prices, etc., all to go to the moon, to float up, to melt up, because they make like a percentage. If you have to pay real estate tax, or, if you sell your house and you have to pay taxes on your gains on the value of that house, property tax, like all the different taxes that they get from you, capital gains on different things, etc., it makes sense for the government to try to pump up the prices, for the Federal Reserve, for everybody to pump up these prices, because that's going to help them grow like the actual like amount of money that they have so that they can spend it on dumb stuff. So they don't want the price to come back down. They want the price to keep melting back up. And the truth is, for most people own 0 houses or 1 house. So if you own 1 house, excuse me, hang on one second. Excuse me. If you own 1 house and that house was worth, just for simplicity's sake, $1 million, and then the market goes up 25%, now your house is worth $1.25 million, and you say, that's a great deal. Awesome. We're up 25%. I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to go out. I'm going to buy another house. Well, if every other house went up by 25% too, did you really make out? I mean, if you go out and you buy a house that's $2 million now, but it was $2 million at the same time yours was $1 million, and now it's $2.5 million. So did you really make out, or did you just use your inflated house price to buy another house that's also inflated? Now it's the other way around. If you have a house that's $1 million and then it goes up to, 1.2 or whatever, and then you sell it and you move into a smaller house, now you move into a $250,000 house, but that house was $250,000 last year and now it's $300,000. Well, yeah, you capture the gains on the extra principal that you had in your house. But for most people, that's like a negligible amount. You're probably buying a house that's like similar in value to the one that you're in, maybe somewhere more ideal. So if you're downsizing or you own multiple houses and you sell out in the middle of a housing boom, sure, you do okay. But if you just sell your house and then buy another house, and the house you sold was inflated, so you decided to sell it because you're like, it's went up 25% in the last year, and then you just buy another house that went up 25% in the last year, did you really gain anything? Or did you just shift into a different valued house one way or the other? So that's kind of how you have to look at it. And another argument too is as long as rates stay low, values of a house is going to be higher because the rate is directly dependent on the value of the house. Because if you take into account how much interest you're going to pay on like a 30-year fixed loan, if you get a loan at, 2% versus 5%, that's extra 3% per year that you can then save on the actual interest. Therefore, over 30 years, how much more valuable does that make that house? So there's lots of arguments to be made about that. housing market's not actually in like a crazy bubble. The way that people are arguing it is that it's just going to pop and crash and whatever. The problem with the last housing market was the ninja loans. You know, no income, no job, no assets. You're basically like giving massive loans to people who couldn't afford to pay them. Clearly couldn't afford to pay them. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe it just crashed tomorrow and houses will be $100 and everybody can have one, but I doubt it. XTN transportation. We've been talking about this for a while. This was basically the breakout above the key resistance that would come back up, retest, and then obviously, you know, this big pump right here was basically driven by, you know, what's in the CTF? It's like Avis, Tesla, Plug Power, like a couple of these other things. So when they went parabolic, obviously this did as well. So with now the burst out of this, you know, we're basically looking to see, do we reclaim like this level? Obviously, will be a while before we get back up to it since we went sideways for so long. But powerful move, powerful. Excuse me, man, I got a frog in my throat. Hail. Oh wait, this is what I was talking about. Sorry, I confused myself. This was our descending triangle right here, and the breakout and the measure move would expect us to take us back up to revisit the highs. And again, well, it's really the same case. But now we've reclaimed the 200 exponential. We stay up here long enough, they're going to roll back over, and I would expect continuation to the upside. So. Now Jets here. This did catch me a little bit off guard. I was not expecting a move back up on Jets. We are still below that previous little high right here. We're also still like at or below the 200 simple. All I hear is news about cancellation of flights and all this stuff going on. While I do expect transportation to rally into the end of the year, and obviously this was pretty oversold near the bottom of the range. Hard buy signal, bunch of green histograms, reclaiming the blue slope. I'm not going to get overly bullish on this, as I do think that it's going to be difficult for transportation, like aeroplane sector, to regain any kind of like steam compared to what it used to have. UPS, and again, that topped out in like 2014. We're not even close to revisiting those previous all-time highs. UPS got that move that we were expecting, overshot it slightly, coming back down. So at this point in time, perfectly called the gap fill to the downside to fill that previous gap right here. Then we left this gap right here. So now we've come back up, we filled that gap. And then we left a small gap right here. And now we're coming back down. We basically are filling that gap as well. So, you know, while I'm not like a hardcore gap trader, let's be real. Gaps almost always get filled, like 90% of the time, maybe more, depending on what you're looking at. So there's a reason that people pay attention to gaps, and you see moves like this all the time. So, and sometimes it's years later, sometimes it's days later, like we see in that case. So, next we have Fedex, obviously slightly underperforming UPS, but once again, you know, another 12% move up here, nearly filled the gap itself. Potentially could overshoot that, come back up to 200 exponential or simple. So, but momentum in its favor. We are seeing a hard sell signal, so I would not be surprised to see this underperform. As I constantly see, like Amazon had like a thing up the other day talking about FedEx delays, all kinds of like stuff about FedEx not being able to find staff, having issues with deliveries, all kind of stuff. So I would not expect. I mean, UPS and FedEx and United States Postal Service should all do well, potentially raising rates over like certain volume amounts going into like the holidays, etc. But after that, we'll probably see at least a short to medium term top come like January or something like that. So let's take a little quick break. I'm going to grab a drink, try to clear my throat out right here, and then we'll roll on to some of our other assets as well. So. All right. Might have had a little popcorn shell lodged in the back of my throat. I don't know. Still got a little scratchiness. What's up, Bubblies? Good to see you, my man. Cheers to you as well. If you're just tuning in, I'd like to remind you it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. This markets are extremely volatile. Please do your own research and trade responsibly. Let's pick back up with the DXY. Not a lot changing here as well. Still just kind of chopping sideways. We are regaining the slope right here with a bunch of green histograms. Hard buy after that little sell-off. Regaining the 821. This thing is, getting dangerously close to a powerful move up. We have our inverted head and shoulders with the measure move up here. We have our, potential double bottom, Eve, Adam, or Adam and Eve double bottom. We have a powerful, neckline resistance right here. We are filling out a ascending broadening wedge right here. We have a break, a retest, and now we're seeing that continuation. I think it's just a matter of time on this one. I mean, I would not be surprised to see at any point in time just a single big green candle up to like 95.6, potentially 96.5, or as high as like 98, possibly even higher. I think as this thing gains momentum, but I would expect quite a bit of resistance at like that 95.7 range, somewhere around there. But overall, daily reclaim the slope line. Blue is above the darker blue, 200 above the 200 simple, 8 and 21 cross the upside. Everything bullish on the daily. If we switch over to the weekly, we're seeing that retest now. We closed above the 200 exponential. So now our next target would be a retest of the 200 simple. Once again, up at like 94.8. We have the blue slope line, bunch of green histograms inside the bullish control zone. So everything pointing to the upside. Matter of fact, these have already flipped back over blue for the first time since we lost that level, like July 2020. So again, everything pointing to the upside once we clear that 200 simple, if and when. And then finally on the monthly, this is the most important, obviously. Hard buy signal coming out of the bearish control zone. Bunch of green histograms. The histogram is getting close to or ready to cross above the slope line. Still below the zero line. Could see a temporary rejection off of the red slope line and then continuation to the upside. But we have come down here and put in a higher low with bullish divergence off of the 200 exponential. We were getting ready to cross the 8 and 21 back to the upside. And obviously we're above the 200 simple. They're all sloped to the upside. So this is telling us we're monthly. The dollar is getting ready to strengthen in comparison to the basket of currencies, telling us that we want our investments to be in the United States, not in the other countries that are in this basket. So basically like, England, Europe, whatever. So what does that tell us? It tells us that, what we already know, that this is the cleanest pair of underwear in the hamper. They're all dirty. All these currencies smell. They're all stinky. They're all worn and used and got some stains. But the dollar is the best one. For now, at least. Which makes sense. It's world reserve currency, obviously. And then we could look at other ones too. Obviously Canada's in there as well. But we could look at other ones too. China, Japan, Africa. You look at all these different random, India, and probably going to tell us the exact same thing or very close to the same thing, telling us that while we do expect the dollar to lose its world reserve status in the future, it's probably going to be years before that happens, maybe even a decade. My rough guess would be like 3 to 10 years probably, but I do think it's inevitable. It's not a sustainable system. We saw it happen with, Britain back in the day. Now, we essentially had a couple different cycles with the United States. We had, initially, obviously, gold back dollar. Then we had the, petro dollar, euro dollar. And I think in the future we'll have, whatever the world reserve IMF / 1%er coin, whatever it is. No, we don't know what they're going to call it yet. Fed coin, etc. So, but overall, obviously very bullish. Very bullish. I mean, just from the 821 cross right here, that's August 2018 to when it crossed back to the downside. It's July 2020. So that was just a 2-year period right there in the grand scheme of things. The time before that was on the cross back to the upside, and this was much longer, from 2014 till 2017. So you're talking about 3 years. So if we see a minimum 2 to 3 years of strengthening dollar, I mean, what kind of pressure is that going to put on other countries' currencies and assets in dollars? Does not mean that asset prices are not just going to skyrocket while all these currencies trade against each other. Tesla, new all-time highs. I mean, we can look at our targets right here. As far as I'm concerned, we basically hit our target. It was the break of the channel, basically from the top of the A to the bottom of the B or the D. Measure move to the top of the range, which lines up perfectly with 1.618. Now Elon's talking about potentially selling 10% of his Tesla stock. Now there's no deal with Hertz. It was all just bullshit. They're going to buy 100,000 cars at full price, but Tesla already doesn't have 100,000 cars to sell them. So, if I have a lemonade stand and I have enough for 10 glasses of lemonade, and then you come up to me and you say, hey, I'm going to buy 1,000 glasses of lemonade from you. I'm going to put in an order right now. I'm like, great. I got 10 glasses left. So, and they're already spoken for. Who cares? It doesn't change anything. You didn't sell an extra 1,000 lemonades, 100,000. You didn't sell an extra 100,000 Teslas. Like a $4 billion order, which who knows what the profit margin is on that. Let's say they were going to, 25%, let's say roughly. I'm sure that's way less than that. Let's say Tesla was going to make $1 billion off that deal. Now Tesla's worth an extra 100 billion off $1 billion. Doesn't make sense. I mean, these markets don't make sense. But Elon's coming out saying, I talked about this previously, that he basically has a $10 billion tax deal, or $10 billion tax bill that's about to be due. So now he's talking about selling, 10% of his Tesla, putting out polls on like Twitter or whatever. So what is that going to amount to? Well, he's talking about selling basically 20 billion, which if he sells 20 billion, he'll have to pay taxes on that 20 that he sells. So, that's roughly 50% gone. So that's 10 billion of the 20 billion gone. And then he uses the other 10 billion to pay his previous, tax bill that's already due. So there's the 20 billion gone. So he basically I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it would not be surprising to basically FUD up the price as high as you can, or pump up the price as high as you can, and then sell, $20 billion of stock into it so that he doesn't actually lose anything. You gotta love Elon, the master manipulator, the chef, richest man alive, saying F you to everybody, especially the regulators. Uber retest the 200 exponential and simple. Looks like it could pick up a little momentum right here. But overall, I expect this to get rejected. Uber and Lyft both coming out and saying they're actually getting more drivers back, and people are going back to work. It doesn't surprise me. Hearing a lot of the mainstream media talk about, well, all the programs are gone now and we're not seeing people come back to work. Well, people aren't just going to go back to work the next day. People always wait till the last minute to do everything. So, they've been getting free money for 1-2 years. A lot of them still getting free money if they're pumping out little babies left and right. People getting all kind of money still, unemployment, welfare. There's a million different programs. We're putting in more and more and more programs. So I don't just expect people to all of a sudden be oh my God, I'm not going to be able to feed my kids if I don't immediately go out and get a job. And they still have a million excuses why. There's no, there's no checks and balances. Did you go apply for jobs? Are you looking for jobs? Did you try? Well, I couldn't. They're not paying me enough, or I'm still afraid of the big V, or my kids might not be able to go to school, or there's a million excuses. People never going to go back to work. We actually need to open up the borders and let in as many people as possible, so that they'll actually go to work. So we'll have people to do all the stuff. Eventually though, all the billionaires, all the millionaires, all the super rich people are going to get pissed because America is just a bunch of lazy fat people that does nothing. And, eventually they're going to be like, hey, hang on. How come I still can't, get a dinner reservation? How come I can't buy the car I want? How come I can't, get the house I want? How come I can't get people to, you know, do these renovations for me or whatever? Eventually, all the rich people are going to get pissed, and they're going to come together and say, we got to crash all these stocks and all these cryptos and all this stuff so that we can get all the fat, lazy slaves to go back to work. And then, you know, obviously that'll be the market top. And then they'll just rebuy everything once it crashes. I mean, it's all cycles. It's literally the master plan. So, Wish looks weak here, down below $5 again. Earnings coming up. It'll probably miss, as it literally always misses. And they're spending a lot less on advertising, which is good. They do have like a legitimate business and everything. But I mean, I don't know. Picking the bottom on this thing is literally just a shot in the dark. I do expect it to come up here at some point in time and fill the gap at like 929. But I don't know when that's going to be. I really thought this looked like it was going to sustain, consolidate, and then get the push up. But, you know, once again, probably just going to be looking for when this rounds out here. Do we see this develop into some bullish divergence, which is what I'm expecting or hoping for? I do still have a position in this. But again, I mean, I think, honestly, eventually this thing comes back up and revisits some of these previous highs. Even at $15, it's like a 3x. But not exactly like adding to my position right now. We did reclaim the slope right here. We are seeing like drive after drive after drive of bullish divergence on like these big drives, big sell-offs. So I think it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of when's going to be my time. Bumble, you know, basically just doing the same thing, struggling not to just give up this ascending triangle. Broke down from it the first time, came back up, retested as we were discussing, came back down, broke out from it again. You know, arguably now is the slope just sort of like flattening out, and we're looking at something a little bit more like this. You know, and the triangle's like just shaped a little different, but we're still inside of it. Sure, you could definitely argue that. But again, you know, I'm not really interested in this tightening range until we make up our mind one way or the other. This is technically a favorably bullish pattern, so we'll see. But I expect it to just continue trading inside the range until it doesn't, and nobody knows when that's going to be. At least I don't. I mean, I would think that dating apps and really like most apps and stuff like that are probably going to do worse as everything reopens and goes back to normal, because people would rather probably after being like locked up and like caged and like behind screens and, you know, dating via Skype or, you know, Snapchat or whatever. I think people would probably rather like interact with human beings, but I don't know, maybe not. I mean, the metaverse is here, it's coming. So maybe Bumble is the future. Baidu, just looking like a rejection off 200 exponential as expected. I'd rather just take a look at Alibaba. This is what we've been discussing. The inverted head and shoulders. You know, I was expecting this rejection right here and then us to basically come back down here. I will probably look for, once again, some sort of divergence or something at this right shoulder, somewhere around this area for support. And I will probably take a scalp position on this, just because even if this was just the bottom right here, the measure move is 40% to the upside. So even if it underperforms right here, even if it literally just turned around tomorrow and underperformed, and we made it back to like the red zone right here, that's over a 30% move. So, I mean, this starts like looking real juicy in my opinion. I think we probably do come down lower. And what I want to see is some sort of, I want to see a candle, something like this, where we start to put in a lower low and then it gets bought up and we leave like a bullish hammer or something like that. That's going to tell me that that's probably the bottom. You know, we won't always get that. But I think more likely than not we do. And again, you know, obviously, you know, if we want to do a more conservative stop all the way down here at the head, a 12% stop loss going to give us a target up here, just assuming the smaller one, 30%. If you don't want to, if you want to be a little more conservative, run like 8 or 9% stop loss. You know, 30% upside, like for the shorter target. That's 3.33 to 1. You know, as far as I'm concerned, either one would be acceptable as long as it's over 2 to 1. And then realistically, you know, if we get the overperform, which is the measure move of the inverted head and shoulders, you know, and then at that point in time, maybe it just goes to the upside and that was the actual bottom. But that's over 3 to 1. So Definitely looking juicy right there. And I think probably, for the most part, Alibaba and Baidu probably going to do like a similar type thing. I just think Baidu is giving us a little less clear picture, and Alibaba is, that's a nice little pattern developing. So now if we take out that low, continue down, sure, maybe it just continues getting wrecked for another couple months or years or whatever. So 10 cent music, TME. Not a ton to see here. This got almost no love on the bounce back up here. Does it come back up here and eventually retest 200 exponential and simple? Maybe, but this was like our retest, and then it's just been so weak afterwards. I really would have to see something out of this. So maybe a strong earnings report, and this thing can like burst back to the upside. Um, I mean, I think that's what it takes at this point in time. It's definitely got a little momentum building, but it broke that back down below the 8 and 21, so definitely better trades to be had there. Diddy came back up to the top of the range again. Now it's back down below the heart line. It's still just range bound, forever range bound. Does it come back down here to the bottom at 7 and then move back up to 10? I mean, probably based on what it's been doing. Yeah, I mean, unless I see like some kind of, this thing really just has to break out one direction or the other. Uh, you know, it's arguably, I mean, it's like a 50% range from 7 to 10. Breakout would take us to like 13. A breakdown take us to like 4. BZ, Kanzun, just still inside of our little like tightening range. Nothing to see here really. Again, I'm looking for a breakout in one direction or the other. And as long as we're below the blue, sort of like resistance slash support, I have to favor like down. If we're above it, I favor up. If we get back above it again, it probably breaks to the upside. But with the hard sell, losing momentum below the slope line, this thing's probably at least coming back down to revisit the range. Um, which is still like 5 or 6, 7%. JD, back on top of the 200 exponential, lost the 200 simple. Again, very neutral overall. I mean, we'll see what happens with this. I'm sort of kind of looking at this as this might be a stretch, but I'm kind of seeing it as something like this. So while I prefer a head and shoulders or an inverted head and shoulders to have more of a like horizontal neckline, it can be ascending or descending, either way. The real test is going to be when we come back up to this red, or if we do, I expect us to find support right here. If we come back up to this red and break through it, we're probably going to get the measure move back to the upside and new all-time highs, based on like the rest of China stocks and what's going on over there. I think that's probably less likely to happen. But in the event that we did get that breakout, that's basically new all-time highs, $109. But realistically, it probably does break down, and we were just being a little too creative. We are losing the slope line here on the TDMACD as well, so we'll see though. It's definitely a possibility either way. Neo still just filling out this descending triangle that it has been filling out since the top back here in January. So basically the whole year just been filling out this descending triangle. Reclaim the 200 exponential and simple. Got a little momentum in its favor, but until it breaks this range, there's really nothing to see here. I do expect eventually this thing to break down and potentially come down to like the macro 5 as low as like 855. I'd be okay with the test of like 1450 or something like that. But there's nothing really telling me this has bottomed yet. We could put in a ascending support line as well, and maybe it's a little bit more of a flag and a little less of a descending triangle. That's definitely like a little more bullish. But at this point in time, again, this thing's been range bound for so long, it's like dead money as far as I'm concerned until something happens. And if you have unlimited capital, you can just sit stuff wherever and just sink it and not worry about it for, a year or 2 years or 10 years or 20 years. But if you're looking to like trade and make moves, you want something that's actually trading and making moves. EDU, this thing not looking so hot. It's down like, I think 7% from the entry. I wanted to say it was like 219 or something like that. It's at 204 now. If this level holds right here, we do have like an ascending support line right here. And still a potential 162% move back to the gap fill at like 583. Want to see this do something eventually. We are all the way back down here inside the bearish control zone. Potentially going to find support, hopefully, on the blue slope line. We did break back down below zero. We are seeing a bunch of red histograms, but we're talking about a 6.6 or 7 to 1. At this point in time, we could always tighten up the stop loss too, because basically a break of this range. But I like it where it's at if we take out that low. 6.6 to 1 for a 162% move to the upside. And then not to mention, probably would add on a... realistically, on a powerful move to the upside. Anything above 250 is going to look good. But if it breaks 3, I think it just skyrockets straight up to like 570. So who knows? Maybe throw some calls on the table here. Or if not, just more spot. Still looks okay though for now. TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor. Still just range bound. Red resistance, green support. Putting that move into the upside. Does it break above 200 simple? It could go either way at this point in time. We hit the smaller measure move, 8.2%. So there's still a little meat on the bone here potentially. But at the same time, we don't want to give it back either. So, but again, just dead money right here. I think the whole world's just kind of like looking at Taiwan, wondering what's going to happen. AMD, strong. Had that nice move up here. Not quite as strong as Nvidia. And a little more overvalued. A little less valuable. But overall strong. Very strong. SMH, Taiwan, Fedex Semiconductor ETF. Powerful breakout. Obviously with AMD and Nvidia breaking out. As well as some of the others. Very strong. Probably at least putting in a temporary top right here, as it's up here at like 98 on the Stokes. And then obviously a little indecision after a powerful move to the upside. Probably not the best time to be jumping in on them. ARKK. Oh man, Kathy. Still not looking so hot. Is Kathy Wood a good trader? Is she a good active ETF manager? Well, she sold Apple right before Apple moved 40% because it was a cash-like position, and then it moved 40% to the upside. So she missed that. She sold a decent amount of Tesla right before Tesla shot up to the upside. So maybe not the best. She just sold Nvidia right before Nvidia shot up to the upside. Probably not the best. Sold a little bit of her Zillow before and after the sell-off. So, let's be real though. We can just look at this chart right here and see. This is December 8th. So if you bought this on December 8th, you're at the same price now. So she has literally almost wasted an entire year. And more money has flowed into this. Way, way more. In billions. Than was already in this. So it's like the more money that flows into her fund, the less it does. So, at some point in time, people are just going to say, Kathy Wood sucks. The S&P is up like almost 40% on the year. 40%. So if you bet on Kathy, you're down 40%. Or you're not up 40%. She sucks. She fucking sucks. ARKF. Same thing. We can just zoom back here and see January 19th. If you bought in anytime after January 19th, you're right there at that same price again. So a little bit of bullishness maybe. Ascending triangle, hard sell signal though. Bunch of red histograms. Above the slope line, it is blue. Some momentum. I don't know. I don't know, Kathy. How do you suck so bad? I don't know. Skills, got a little pathetic move back up here. Looks like it's getting ready to roll back over. Could get up here as high as like 14.25, maybe like 18, but doesn't look particularly great. Teledoc, got a nice little pushback up. Retest of the 200 exponential. Maybe cruise up a little higher to the 200 simple. Strong resistance at like 170. Does it get there? Probably not. Hard sell signal leaving the bullish control zone. Couple red histograms. Still above zero and blue slope. Looks okay, but probably very close to topping. We'll see how this next couple days goes. Palantir still doing nothing. It is above the 200 exponential on simple. Looks like it's going to reclaim these levels. Definitely a little room to run still. Looks okay. Looks okay. I'm still just neutral on this. Same thing. We just kind of changed the angle of the triangle a little bit, and it's basically just chopping on through. If it does get a break, though, it probably takes it back up to like the highs, somewhere around like 37 bucks. UBX, nice little pop to the upside, and then gave it all back. Again, total trash. No product, no sales, no earnings, no nothing. Let's take a look at our earnings and revenue projections. Earnings estimate, minus 36 cents per share. Revenue estimate, 0. Because they do nothing. They make nothing. They have no product. They have no business. All they have is a ticker. Trash. Trash, 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 trash. Trashity trash. Trash. Unity Software looks okay. Still just kind of chopping around after that gap fill. Hard sell, kind of going sideways. Longer it goes sideways here, the better it looks, honestly, in my opinion. Starting to pick up some steam on the moving averages. So if we can hang out here a little bit, I think we're going to new all-time highs. Corsair. Man, this thing sucks lately. Cannot get any strength to the upside. It has crossed the 821 back to the upside. I would like to see it at least play out this measure move 20% back to like 30 bucks. But at that point in time, I think it's probably just going to get rejected. Very weak. Picking up a little momentum here. Hard buy signal. 821 cross. Even... what's left of this move? Probably, 15%? 13%? It could be worth adding a little bit on this position. Zoom, man, just fell out of bed. Looked like it was going to rally back up here and fill that gap, and then just fell out of bed. Really want to see, for this thing to look like it's at least put in a temporary bottom, want to see some kind of aggressive selling and then get bought up and leave a big wick on the bottom. But hard sell again. Blue slope line trying, but it's going to lose the 821 again. Unless it like gaps back up, back on top of here at like 280, it's probably just going to see further downside. Square broke down from the 200 simple, retesting the 200 exponential on the heart line right here. Still waiting for this. If it comes back down to like 190, I'm probably a buyer. If it comes up to 280, it's probably going to get rejected again. But again, just it's neutral here. There's no trade set up for me at least in this range. It's just a coin toss. So PayPal came all the way down. It's at our target now. It touched our target like 3 times in a row. So at this point in time, we've hit the measure move of the breakdown. Oh man, look at those red histograms. Bunch of red histograms. Bunch of volume coming in under the 200 exponential and simple as they roll over. Don't love this setup, but it probably is getting tired here. I think, man, what is this earnings going to look like? So this is going to be the first quarter that they report since eBay dropped them. So what have they done to make up for eBay's revenue? The missed or lost revenue from eBay? Not much. They were already in the crypto space. Yeah, I think this is probably going to be a miss. It's probably going to be a miss. Is it already priced in, though? This is probably already the eBay miss priced in. So I think realistically, this is going to... I think the earnings miss is probably priced in. And we're probably going to find support here. And then we're going to get that push back up. Which is a 12% move with a 3% tight little stop on a close. Already exhausted to the downside. Yeah, I think I'm going to take this trade. I was actually going to take it last week and then I just forgot all about it. So let me put a note of that. But yeah, you know, I'm very bullish on PayPal long term. Short term, I think it probably chops around inside this range for a while. But you know, if this bottoms right here and basically gets a double bottom and then cruises all the way back up to the top, you know, that's 37% move. And this is the type of thing where I think if we look at PayPal, you know, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, 10 years from now, I think it's much, much higher. But do we ever get an opportunity to buy it lower? You know, a breakdown basically of this consolidation pattern, you know, measure move down at like 140 or something like that. Maybe at, you know, 188, 200. We'll see. I'm going to take a stab at this one. I think this is probably already priced in. The amount of volume that came in right here, all right, why is there a bunch of volume coming in? With the breakdown of the 200 exponential and simple, earnings coming up, knowing that eBay dropped them, it's probably insider trading. Let's be real. And I mean, SEC, asleep at the wheel. I mean, do they even go to work anymore? I don't even think. The building's probably shut down. They probably sold it. It's like Salvation Army now. They don't even have an SEC. It's gone. It went digital. It's in the metaverse. eBay, still looking strong here. Still looking strong. Trying to hang on to this 821. This could go either way right here. This probably goes sideways or down. I'd like to pick it back up on a retest right here. That would look great. Will it happen? I don't know. It's basically back at where I sold it at. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, going into the holidays, eBay's probably going to do strong numbers. Discussed that quite a bit already. I think a lot of these online retailers, I would imagine Amazon do strong numbers. This was a surprise in my opinion. I was not expecting them to miss. I guess with the reopening and everything, people were out doing like the retail thing or whatever. Um, or maybe their funds were just exhausted. But overall, this thing was ready to just blow up. I mean, going into the holidays and everything, I doubt we're gonna get it back down here at like 28, 29. We'll see though. I mean, if it breaks through this range, consolidates, it's probably going much, much higher. I mean, I think the measure move on Amazon is probably just gonna be something stupid. But I mean, Amazon's not going anywhere. It's like Nvidia. If you don't have a position in Amazon or Nvidia, like, what are you waiting for? 42.36. I mean, I honestly just feel like some of these companies are going to be like the companies of the future, like, regardless. 20%. It's a nice move. We'll see. Not financial advice, obviously. Facebook. Facebook, powerful move up here. Sort of looks like a little rejection candle. Wicked up above that previous high right here. Left a little gap behind, nothing crazy. Bunch of green histograms above the slope line, nearing the zero. Hard buy signal. 821 looks like they're about to cross. This probably does see further upside. You know, if we are arguing that this is just going to be an internal retracement, not put in a new all-time high, I would say it could have already topped out at the 0.5, but more realistically, probably cruises back up to the 618. If it gets above the 618, it's probably going to look like it's headed back up to new highs. So I would say the target is probably, I think I said originally the target was the 0.5, but it looks like it's probably going to overshoot. We'll see though. This does look like a potential rejection, shooting star. Um, oh wait, what is Facebook? What even is that? It's not a real thing. Meta. I'm sorry. Meta platforms. Sorry about that. Google. I wonder if they like did that to legally like absolve themselves. They're gonna like go to court over like all this like Facebook fud, and they're like, "Hey, did you do all this stuff and it was bad and you knew it was bad?" And they're like, "No, that wasn't us. We're not Facebook. We're Meta. We're a whole separate company. We don't even. I've never even heard of Facebook. Anybody? Have any of you guys ever? Nobody knows what Facebook is. Never heard of it. Google, new all-time high. Gonna keep putting in new all-time highs. Google's great. You know, obviously YouTube's fan fucking tastic. Google is fan fucking tastic, and you know, it's just gonna go to 100 trillion billion gazillion dollars. So see what our Fibonacci extension target is. So we tagged the 1.236 like perfectly. So, you know, obviously target up here is going to be the 1.618. Probably we'll see a little bit of a, you know, hiccup along the way at some of these other levels, but 31.38 is our target to the upside. So, and obviously, you know, back above the slope line, it is still red, but all green histograms. I don't love hard buys coming into the bullish control zone, but this is common here. Like here we see the hard buy coming in the bullish control zone, very little follow through. Here we see the hard buy coming into the bullish control zone, initially little follow through and then new high. You know, same thing, initially little follow through, big pullback and then new high. So, you know, I mean, realistically, let's be real. Google's probably just going to continue putting in new highs forever. Microsoft, like full on melt up, crack up, boom, just utter domination. Another one where it's just, you know, they're just doing everything right. Let's be real. Like, who doesn't use Microsoft? 97, probably is getting a little tired up here, but it's not even showing like any signs of weakness on the histogram. I mean, it's literally strengthening to the upside. So even with this little guy right here, I wouldn't worry about that little guy. Very strong. Very strong. Right up until it's not. Right up until the tech bubble bursts. But until then, strong. All right, let's keep rolling. So crypto. So obviously, Bitcoin futures getting a nice little pump up here. Caught up now. It's actually a little higher than spot. So it took a little minute to catch up there to the to our little pump from Tether. Tether's like, watch us. And then futures is like, watch us. So come back up here, trying to revisit the highs. I mean, it's probably going to new all-time highs. Let's be real. Cool off here. Did lose the red slope line. Got a little initial bounce off of it. What we don't want to see is this put in a lower high. But in all reality, I mean, what sellers are there? Who's going to sell? Right here? And Tether's just going to keep pumping in. They probably still got like 14 billion of their new fresh fake coins to pump in. So spot market looks slightly worse. It did break down below the slope line, coming back up to retest it now on the daily. But again, like 200 exponential is above the 200 simple. 200 simple is above the 200 exponential here. So spot market is actually like slightly more bullish. But same thing, you know, who's selling? Not Tether. We know that. RSI strong into the upside. Stochastic strong into the upside. MACD looks like it's bottoming, getting ready to cross back to the upside. Looks like it's going for new all-time highs. I think like 72 was our next target, 72,000. Ethereum strong, new all-time highs. You know, technically like outperforming as of now. Bullish control zone, everything strong. The 200 exponential and simple cross into upside. All the momentum is in Ethereum's favor. Ethereum to Bitcoin, probably topping out right here. Hit our measure move of the descending channel. Looks like it's rolling back over here. If Bitcoin's strong, Ethereum's strong but less strong. Hard sell signal right here coming out of the bullish control zone. So, you know, it really looks like Bitcoin is getting ready to have a big push to the upside, and Ethereum's just going to underperform it. Which makes sense because everybody's like, go all in on Ethereum. It's going to outperform. And then it'll like not perform, and Bitcoin will, because most people are stupid. Total cap, just revisiting those same levels at that 1.618 in red right here. Close right at it, slightly above it. This is our target area. Really got to be careful right here, but there's no reason to get bearish on crypto right now. Everything is just melting up. Everything's crack up boom. The worse something is, the more it goes up. Let's be real. The higher the valuation, the more people are buying it. It's just all momentum pumps on like 90% of the shit. Money shifting around, musical chairs, and Tether's like, hold my beer. Bitcoin dominance broke down below the 821. Still putting in bullish divergence. Maybe comes down here, puts in a new low again, and a third drive of bullish divergence. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, crypto is just wild. Just doesn't give a fuck. SHIB got that new close up here, just cutting sideways. It's still trading kind of like a little counter to like Bitcoin in general. A bunch of red histograms, hard sell signal, broke down below the 8, in between the 21. Whichever direction it breaks is probably going to see continuation. So if it breaks down below the 21 right here, it's probably going to get wrecked and go down to like zeros, and then a 3. If it breaks to the upside, it's probably going to retest the highs at like zeros and then an 8. So could go either way. It's honestly like what? It's basically a coin toss at this point in time. I think if Bitcoin looks strong, SHIB's probably going to get wrecked here because it really is trading like counterintuitive to Bitcoin or inverse. Matic putting in what looks like a little more of a descending triangle. Clear support right here after that blow off top. You know, again, I don't want to see a 50% wick of a candle like that. Typically, it's going to lead to a rejection and then more downside. Where does it find support at? I mean, probably just right here though. Probably a $1.70. So maybe 10% down and then continuation to the upside. Looks pretty good overall. We did break down from that support, that ascending support. So again, next target to downside is probably going to be the 618, somewhere around here, $1.65, 175, somewhere around there. But we really want to see our blue ascending line support hold. That is the key at this point in time. So Solana, that trade setup is done. Yeah, so got the finish on the initial trade setup, 18% to the upside. And then coming back down, as long as it's above the 8, probably just going to keep picking up momentum. Still still a ways to go up here. The 1.618 could go to like 318. So we'll see what happens right here. Don't want to see it break down below the 8 on a close. Definitely don't want to see it below 21. But more realistic than not, I think momentum's in its favor. It is getting a little tired here, a little exhausted. But best thing for this right now is just kind of go sideways for a bit while Bitcoin pumps. And then, money flow back into it and hit that high. But no selling pressure. It's all-time highs. Continue to put in all-time highs. Blue sky breakout. Let's go. XRP showing a little bit of strength right here. Took out that little high right here. Took out that little high right here. So next main resistance is this little cluster right here. So if this thing gets above a $1.40, $1.38, it probably just explodes back up to the highs right here. So a $1.38 clear resistance, $1.39 somewhere around there. And then after that, like $1.60 and some change. And then after that, $1.80 and some change. And then maybe, just maybe, I'll stop poking fun at XRP. And it'll like actually put a new all-time high this cycle, like $3+. I mean, I give XRP a hard time, but I did put in this case right here for XRP new all-time highs a while back with the 0 back here at like 17 cents, or was it 12 cents? 1. And then the 2 was the 17 cents buy where we snagged up some XR penises. And then the 3 retest of that $2 area. And then the 4 sell off basically back down to the top of the 1. Finding support at our red support here. And then new all-time high. I mean, if this thing bursts above a $1.60, I mean, why not, right? Retest previous all-time highs. Hit the 1.618 target. I mean, each time it's hit the 1.618 perfectly. So does XRP go to $5? Does it then hit the 1.618 of the previous and all the XRP bulls, all the cultists finally get their nut at $26 XRP? No, that'll never happen. I mean, it's possible though. But really, honestly, XRP probably does go to $5. It probably does. Or 0. 50-50. Coin toss. But probably does go to $5. I think there's enough cultists that they'll pump the money up here. They got to get that XRP nut before the cycle ends. Or there's like, it's pretty much dead asset, if not. So, BAT. So, yeah, I mean, you guys know I hit that BAT trade. Got out at like 140 or something like that. Off like that 3-day 100% pump. Obviously beautiful. It's holding support for now. Don't want to see it lose this level right here. Does it lose this level? It could go either way. I mean, the MACD looks bad. It looks like it's about to break down here. It could easily bounce it and put in a new all-time high though. So I'm not overly bearish on this setup. But again, we have that 1 through 5, and this would be us basically putting in the 4. The only thing I don't like about this 4 right here is I like to see the 1 and then the 2 be like 50% roughly, time-wise. And then the 3 and then the 4 be like 50% time-wise. This was like literally like 3 days. So just like structure-wise, and again, I'm all about that symmetry and everything because I feel like more people are seeing it the same way I am. That's like a pretty quick, pretty violent sell-off. I want to see it come out something like that. And if it breaks down to the 618 and comes down here, it's going to invalidate the 5-wave structure. So the best thing this can do now is just literally go sideways or just start like creeping up here. But really, if it just goes sideways, I'll probably just enter this position at essentially where we're at right now, and expect that further trade to play out. But I want to see this really just like cool off before it goes to like $2. Yep. Uh-huh. But I did take profits on the majority of that trade. You guys know how I do it though. Chain link, not really doing anything. Trying to get that break above here. Uh, what is that? 25% potential move to the upside, 10% stop loss, 2.5 to 1 risk reward ratio. Looks okay right now. And then to retest that previous high right there, 62%. Again with the stop down here at 10%, $28. I mean, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty probable of playing out. I think we have a pretty clear like support, ascending support right here coming in. So as long as we stay above that, I think it just keeps pushing price up. And I accidentally turned on like these random indicators, so I'm too lazy to switch them. I'll switch them before next stream though. Polkadot. Yeah, so I told you guys I took profits up here on Polkadot. I'm sure I have some random Polkadot somewhere, but I have all but sold off my position at this point in time. Could keep running, but I think we probably have exhausted this move, at least for now. Another quick little like 17%. I had a lot of that from before as well, so we'll see what happens. I do like this this candle that got bought up right here, so there's definitely some potential for continuation to the upside. It's at all-time highs though, so it probably does just keep creeping up here. Probably does keep creeping up here. But yeah, we're hitting the heart line right here. So I'd like to see this just kind of go sideways or slightly down and then pick it back up about like 47 if possible. But there's definitely an argument to be made for a position out of this area and just rebuy and say it's still strong. There's an argument to be made, because even a pushback up to the heart line from there, with a invalidation breakdown below the 1.5, 6% stop loss, 31% to the upside. That's a pretty nice trade setup there. And then if we say that same trade setup, but we get all the way back up to the top of the channel and roughly the 2.618, 55% move. So yeah, and I mean realistically, I mean it could be a 90% move, could be a dubski. Yeah, I don't want to get too aggressive on this, but honestly, I probably will reopen a position on this. And that's okay. I can take profits and be wrong. I don't mind that. I would always rather take profits, lock them in, and buy back like slightly higher at the same price, but know that I'm de-risk in the meantime and then let it develop a little bit. So I'll let this go sideways for a couple days, see what happens here. Yeah, wait for like the MACD, see what's kind of going on with the momentum. And then if it starts looking juicy again, I will re-enter with one of these trade setups. I mean, which the risk reward is so good. It's why not? Might as well take a stab. Take a stab at it. Uniswap, Uni, still doing nothing. I think we had a little pattern going on here. This is pretty much invalidated at this point in time. It was looking like an inverted head and shoulders, but it's just gone sideways so long. It's like too demented. You can't really use it at this point in time. Sort of have the same kind of like triangle pattern maybe forming. A little bit of like an ascending support. So again, I mean, could you just jump in right now? Just jump in right now, assuming it's going to break up. And then if it breaks down and takes out the shoulder, you get out. I mean, it's almost a 4-to-1. 4-to-1 at that point in time. I mean, at 4-to-1, it's almost worth just taking the coin flip. I can't remember who asked about this, but congratulations. We did it. CKB. I feel like it was one of the group members. It might have just been somebody here in chat, but we hit our move. 45+% overperformed, but hit it perfectly. Assuming that you took it on the breakout and not just when we drew the chart right here. But yeah, got the breakout, over 45% move to the upside, just from that beginning of the candle to the peak was 66%, but the trade setup was 45%, and it played out in 2 days. Congratulations. I obviously do not mess with that. I don't even know what that is, but good job. Hopefully you made some bank. And that was a retest of the 786. At this point in time, I mean, does it go to the 886? Well, we got to just let this play out and see where it cools off to and what happens. You'd want to see the 618 hold as support and then see that continuation to the upside. Oh, is that you, Bubblies? Hell yeah, brother. Congratulations. I couldn't remember who it was. I knew it was one of you guys. Yeah, oh yeah. It's definitely Bollypur. I'm sure if someone's disliking the video. But you know what? Like, what kind of human being tunes into someone's live stream every single week where all they do is literally like nail their projections, crush the markets, and do it for free for the community, and then complain and dislike videos because I wouldn't give him free indicators and help him to code because he's, you know, I mean, he's just a little cuck boy. I don't care about him. But it's just funny. Like, bro, just go away. Get a life, dude. Get a life, loser. Get a life, loser. Bali, poor little bitch. Yeah, I don't even know what he says either, man. It's like gibberish. And like, honestly, I don't even have a problem with the like little loser. He basically just like had a falling out with somebody else, like ran his mouth about him a bunch. And then that person said that actually he was the one who's being a loser, like little bitch. And then he like begged me to join his Discord group and help him to like write code and give him indicators. He like tried to trick me into like giving him like my code for my indicators. I'm like, bro, just go away, dude. I don't have time for your little bitch ass. And he's like, oh, join my group, please. Oh, we could be best friends. I'm like, bro, I got enough friends. Fuck out of here, you loser. And then he comes in here like typing stuff and like running his mouth that doesn't even make sense. I'm like, bro, learn English and then talk shit to me. Because even if you're on the top of your game and you spoke perfect English, I guarantee you I will tear you apart. Because I'm just too quick-witted for like some little chump change whose first language is not even English. Could you beat me in like Indian or whatever your like main language is talking shit? Yeah, because I don't speak that language. But if you come in here talking that Americana, that USA, that English, bro, I'm going to face you every time. Face you every time. But I couldn't tell what he was saying, dude. I had no clue what he was saying. He's like trying to string together sentences. I'm like, bro, just get the fuck out of here. Loser ass little bitch. Little bitch. And that's fucked up too, because I'm like, I consider myself to be pretty cool. I'm nice to everybody. You know, I'm pretty reasonable. But at the same time, don't try to trick me into like giving you like code for my indicators or like doing your work for you and then trying to take credit for it. Don't try to like, you know, come on, bro. I don't want to join your Discord group and like tell you how to do technical analysis because you don't know. I don't want to write your indicators for you so you can sell them to other people. I don't want to market your garbage that you need help with for you to sell to my legit friends and, you know, fellow companions on my own YouTube channel. There's a million other channels that would gladly sell out. Go to those channels. They got way more subscribers. They got way more, you know, potential people that you can rip off with your trash. You don't need to bring it around here, man. But anyway. What a loser. Hopefully he's gone for good. I don't care, though. Go ahead. Show up. Dislike my stream every single week. Run your mouth in the comments. I don't care. It's good for YouTube algorithm regardless. It doesn't care. It'll like keep showing you my stuff because it knows it makes you mad and you'll interact with it. So I'm okay with that. FTT, you know, still strong here. Getting ready to retest that previous all-time high close on the daily. So looks good. Closed at the 618, pushing up here. I mean, next target is the 786. And realistically, I mean, if this thing closes above 65, it's probably just going to keep shooting. And it looks like the Stochs are about to cross back to the upside. So, dude, to tell you the truth, Bubblies, I don't even know how it works. All I did was like delete his comments from last time. So I'm pretty sure like anytime he tunes in, he can just keep commenting because I didn't actually block him. I just like deleted his comments from that stream. Because I don't need that kind of negativity. And it, not to mention, it was like, I don't even know what the fuck he was saying, but it's not good. Like, if I wish well to, like, you and your family, and then you come in here running your little cocksucker in my channel, like, bro, maybe you're drunk, maybe you had a bad day, maybe you're, whatever. That's fine. I'll give you one shot. Might even give you two. But you come in here a third time, acting a fool, bro, I'll ban you after that. And then you can just go make a fake account, come back here and like dislike me. You can make 10 accounts, dislike. I don't really care. I really just don't give a shit. I mean, I got to where I'm at right now, not giving a shit about what people think. So pretty sure I'm going to be okay. Especially from some little bitch boy like that. Like, don't beg me for help and like ask me for everything and try to get me to join your group and like be your best buddy and then get mad when I don't. Like, I don't have to be your friend, dude. I got enough friends. Oh, definitely negative. I don't know what the hell he was saying. I really don't care. He got mad because he tried to get me to join his Discord group. I wouldn't join his Discord group. And then he like tried to get me to help him code some indicators because he couldn't get to work. And I wouldn't do it. I'm like, look, dude, I'm too busy. You need to just learn how to do it yourself. Do it your own self. And then he was like trying to get me to like sell like his stuff to my subscribers. And he's like, oh, I'll give you a percentage. I'm like, bro, do you know how many offers I get from like garbage exchanges or garbage crypto tokens or like losers like you that are like, oh yeah, sell my stuff. I don't need your affiliated marketing. I'm an actual investor and trader. So go do that somewhere else. You can reach way more people. You get way more little losers to buy your crap. Like, no, thank you. I want to join it just cause. Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was curious. I'm like, I wonder what the hell's going on in there. And then I was just like, it's probably just a bunch of other losers doing the same thing. So, but I don't know. I'm not in any other Discord. I have my Discord, and that's it. I don't have any other crypto Discords or social medias or anything like that. It's just honestly a waste of time. I've told you guys a couple of like legitimate analysts like that I respect, like Alessio Rastani. I think he does great technical analysis. Not a lot of other people. Most people, honestly, especially on YouTube, just go on like Twitter or TradingView or something like that, and then just like steal other people's technical analysis. I used to watch Mitch Ray like way back in the day. He was like entertaining and he would do like long streams and had like some cool effects and everything, but he just got like super depressing. And I'm like, bro, why are you so sad all the time? Like, why are you so angry? But anyway, ADA Cardano. Still weak, man, but looks like it's probably trying to carve out a bottom here. Definitely picking up a little momentum here, flipping the blue slope back over, getting back at or above the 21. Looks like this thing's ready to move back to the upside. I thought we had a trade set up in play. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah, so basically this break right here of the 786, 20% move to the upside, 7% to the downside, 2 or 3 to 1. And then, if it overperforms up to the 786, somewhere in between, and then obviously a revisit of the all-time highs would be like a 50% move. So, somewhere in between what do we have? 2.5 to 6.5 to 1 risk reward. And then obviously, a close on the daily below a $1.90, and it invalidates. It takes out the low, and then we expect continuation to the downside. But, this is a perfect retest of 200 exponential, perfect retest basically the 618 and our target to downside. So at this point in time, I mean, the only thing that would make you bearish on this chart is just that Charles Hoskinson is a bitch. But other than that, I mean, the actual chart technically looks like it's ready to break out to the upside. Charles is a bitch though. FTM looks pretty good. Rolling back over here to the upside. Couple green histograms in a row. Looks like it wants to come back up here. I mean, it's just off of the all-time highs based on closes. What, 313? So it's like 25 cents off or something like that. No, not even. 20 cents off. I mean, this thing probably gets strong. We'll see what Bitcoin does. But honestly, this looks like it's just been chopping around sideways before it breaks back to the upside. Probably not a great trade setup at the moment because you're essentially at resistance. But yeah, that's at the 618. I think we have the target up here. Yeah, the target is at 2.618, 617. So it's another 100% to the upside. So I guess realistically, if I was not in this position or wanted to add on a momentum position into this, what I would be looking to do was, if it takes out the low on closes back here at like 260 whatever, on closes, not on a wick. That's like 15% stop loss. And then the target would be the 2.618 of the Fibonacci extension for like the macro. And that would be basically our 3, which is a 93% move to the upside, over 6-to-1 risk reward ratio. So, and then obviously the pullback on the 4 would take us back to the top of the 1. And then this was one of the ones where I put in like the macro. You know, basically we already put in the 1 through 5 of the 1, and then the 2 retracement was the previous high right here. And then now we're potentially putting in the 3, you know, which essentially you could probably break this down to like a 1 through 5. Let's take a look at that while we're at it. Because this kind of just demonstrates what I'm always talking about with these 5-wave structures. Because like even the 1 through 5 is composed of its own like 1 through 5. So let's see what this one looks like if we break it down. I'm going to turn this blue right here, and I'll turn this blue right here so it's a little more like clear what I'm talking about. This is the 1 through 5 of the 1 macro in white. And then again in blue, we get the retracement of the 1 in white, and then we put in another 1 through 5 of that. And then that 1 through 5 makes up the 3. So then if we look at from the bottom of the 2 in white right here to the top of the 1, I don't think I have. This is the internal retracement fib. Yeah, okay. So if we do from the bottom of the 2 to the top of the 1, the retracement was slightly more than a 236. And then from the 1 to the 2, that was our 236 retracement, up to the 3. We can do a fib on that one and see. And that one looks like a little more than like 0.5, close to a 618 retracement. So a little more bearish of a retracement, but the most you want to see it come down before a continuation. And then just to make sure that we have a valid 5-wave structure, we'll just take the move from the bottom of the macro 2 to the top of the 1 of the micro, and that is $1.53.5. And then from the bottom of the 2 to the top of the 3, that is $1.62. So now, yeah, okay, so the 3 is already longer than the 1, so that's valid no matter what. So now it doesn't matter how long the 5 is. Because if the 3 was shorter than the 1, the 5 would have to be shorter than the 3, so this would not be a realistic target. But because of what we just said, the 1 is shorter than the 3, it could easily have a $3.72 run right here. And then if we just do a Fibonacci extension target from the top of the 3 to what we're assuming is going to be the bottom of the 4 right there, the 1.618 would be at 459, and the 2.618 would be at 684. So right around that 622 target would seem like a viable target for this. So looks pretty good. Looks realistic. You know, everything lines up. It is losing a little momentum right here. Starting to gain some back to the upside. Couple green histograms. But in all reality, I mean, if this just, you would expect it to find some resistance right around the previous all-time high with that slope line, but it could easily reclaim that level, sort of like what it did back here, or what Bitcoin is like doing now on like the 4 hour or something like that. Would not be surprised to see this thing put in a 100% move to the upside as these altcoins just pop off one after another. Pop, poppity, pop. Coinbase, yeah, so broke above our ascending broadening wedge, finding some support at our breakout point right here, outperforming the 618, 786, our next target to the upside, 366. Does it get there? I don't know. It looks like it's getting a little tired, but if crypto keeps running, I think these like exchange ones will do as well. BitO, man, there's nothing really to see here, man. I know you asked for me to take a look at this, but we really just got to wait until we have a little more like price action on this. There's not really anything to see. I mean, just at a quick glance, you know, it looks basically like something like that. I mean, we have that little guy down there. That little guy. Don't worry about that little guy. It basically just looks like a triangle, descending triangle. We'll have to see what this does. I mean, I would imagine at some point in time it starts to like actually follow Bitcoin, which is what it's supposed to do. Got to be careful for this. Never want to be in this like long term. Never, ever, ever want to be in this long term because it's an ETF of futures contracts, which means that every time the futures contract is coming up for expiration, they have to roll it over into the next futures contract. So they have to pay fees. And then if there's a premium or discount, which probably there would be a premium to it, especially if it's going to the upside, it's going to cost you like, 0.5%, 1%, 2%, depending every time. So if every month you lose 1% or 2%, eventually this completely underperforms Bitcoin. So for short term, this is probably good. Realistically, for options to like, for calls or puts, either as a hedge or, basically a leverage position. But this is not like a buy and hold. Like I want to put it in my like long term, like 401k or anything. That's what an actual Bitcoin ETF would be good for. And that's why we want a Bitcoin ETF, not a Bitcoin futures ETF. Yeah. But I mean, I think there is definitely Canadian Bitcoin ETFs. So depending on where you're located, I would just, if I was going to put an ETF of Bitcoin in like a 401k or something like that, I would use the actual ETF, not a futures ETF. But, there's probably going to be one in the United States in the next 6 months or whatever. Who knows? I mean, maybe not. Maybe in 10 years. Who knows? Fucking USA can't get anything right. They don't even, they're asleep at the wheel. Let's be real. And the regulators at this point in time might as well not even exist with the shit that's going on in like all these markets. But they don't care. They're getting rich too, I'm sure. They would have to regulate themselves. You got Fed Reserve Chairman, trading. You got all kind of like heads of like the various branches of Federal Reserve, like trading stocks during a pandemic when they're like buying in massive amounts of mortgage-backed securities and propping up the stock market and, lowering interest rates to zero. You've got Nancy Pelosi making multi-million-dollar trades on Tesla while they like regulate it behind the scenes. So much corruption, so much corruption. Kelly Loeffler, fucking robot lady. She's like married to, what is it? God, I think her and her husband own like the, which one is it? God, they own one of the exchanges. I can't remember which one it is. But yeah, I mean, there's so much corruption. It's such a joke. Such a fucking joke. Trash bag fucking regulators and like government officials. They don't give a damn about anything. They're so corrupt. It's not like it's a surprise. So Hood getting a little move back up here. So that's good. Starting to build up a little bit of momentum. Probably about to get the hard buy signal right here. Last time it didn't do anything. The time before that it got a little push up. Is this bottoming now? Is it double bottoming? Maybe. I mean, slightly higher low right here. Can't actually see if there's divergence because it hasn't existed long enough. I mean, this probably is starting to look okay. You can't really get like any kind of. I mean, that you could argue that that's a breakout. Probably not. I would say probably the way to go is a curve. Oh, wrong way. I would say probably something like this is more what you're going to get. Just because there's like no history on this. We give it like a little bit of a curved resistance. So a breakout above the 786 is going to let us get like the measured move of this. And that's not ideal, obviously, but we don't have a lot of options with this just because there's like no history. Something like that is probably the best we're going to get right now until this develops a little bit more. But arguably, a breakout of just like the meat of the pattern here would give us something to the effect of this, which seems viable. That's our target, like the 0.5 up here. So, yeah, I mean, there's an argument for a momentum play on robbing the poor to steal from the rich, or I mean, Robin Hood. Yeah, I think there's probably something like that going on here. I mean, if we take out the low, definitely don't want to be involved. Arguably, the close low right there, I would just say based off the closes. Careful of wicks, obviously, but this is what I would be looking at. So 7% stop loss, 43% upside target. I mean, just the initial move to the 786 is like a 1-to-1. I mean, slightly better, 1.5-to-1. Not really worth taking. But a breakout to the 618, that would be a 28%. And then to the 0.5, which would be our actual target, it's like 42%. So, I mean, there's a strong argument to dabble in Robinhood a little bit here. Especially if they live SHIB, because it's obviously the best crypto. obviously. I mean, fundamentally, it's the strongest crypto. It's probably has the biggest future. Definitely has the biggest supply. Definitely has the biggest circulating supply. If you're going to be known for one thing, you don't want it to be the biggest circulating supply. Let's put it that way. MicroStrategy, consolidating at resistance. I mean, you guys know how I feel about MicroStrategy. I mean, Michael Saylor and, Charles Hoskinson, two of my favorite people on earth. Both little bitches. Like loser-ass little scammer bitches. But honestly, this chart, ascending triangle, looks like it's about to get the breakout. And if Bitcoin goes parabolic here, I think honestly, if I'm right about Tether, which I am, because they just created 16 billion random Tether out of nowhere and increased the circulating supply by 25%. It's not unrealistic to think Bitcoin is about to go parabolic. Let's be real here. I mean, and by parabolic, I mean 7,000, 10% move to the upside. But what's that going to do for things like trash bag MicroStrategy or like altcoins or something like that? They're probably going to shoot up here. So I think at this point in time, I'll give you guys a trade setup. I obviously won't take this because there's only two places I draw the line, and those are Facebook and MicroStrategy, because you gotta draw the line somewhere. So that's where I draw the line. 45% move to the upside, 11% to the downside, almost 4-to-1 risk reward ratio. Looks probable, honestly. Probably is a good traded setup. I would never personally take it, but that's because Michael Saylor's a bitch. Even Cardano, I don't mind having some Cardano at a good deal, but Michael Saylor is a bitch. A buck-toothed little bitch. GME game stonkers. So we got a nice portion of that breakout measure move back up to the 786. Don't love this rejection candle right here. Reminds me a lot of that one. So at this point in time, probably don't see this play out. 55% would have been, and instead we got this little punk ass 40%. I mean, still a nice move, guys. Still a nice move. Don't want to see this fall back down below here, but it doesn't look like it's going to hold. And it had to get a slightly lower close right here too, which sucks. A higher close would be a little better because at least it's taking out this high. And then it would want to threaten the previous high right here. But it actually got a lower close, so this doesn't look good. Definitely has momentum in its favor. It's got a consolidated breakout right here. But it probably is going to come back down and retest the 618 if I had to guess. At which point in time would you take an entry? I mean, I don't know. It's GameStop, guys. Come on. Come on. It's trash. So is AMC getting ready to do the same thing? Oh my God. The apes are probably so mad right now at the stonkers. What do the GameStop guys call themselves? Are they just like the GameStop in ears or something like that? I mean, if you're in the AMC cult right now and you're on one side of the line and then the GameStoppers are on the other side of the line and the GameStoppers just got that 40 to 60% pump and you're just over here with a pile of your own feces in your hand and a stomach full of pee from the other apes peeing on you and in you. I mean, you got to be mad right now. You got to be mad. Those damn stonkers, those game stonkers got their pump, but we didn't. When's going to be my time? So maybe you're messaging them, hey, man, GameStop's busted. You already got your move, man. Come join the apes, bro. Come get gaped with the apes. Join our crew, dude. 44% incoming. Maybe we get the overshot. Come on, bros. Be an ape. Be a monkey. Be a prime ape with us. Come on, I'll buy some of your silvers if you'll buy some of my AMCs. 75% move up to the measure move there. I mean, does this get the move? It probably does. Honestly, it probably does. Can Tether buy AMC? I mean, it's technically a shitcoin, right? I think they should be able to. They're we've got a lot of commercial paper. They're really? What? And they're AMC, of course, bruh. Come on. I mean, honestly, it probably does get the move, guys. Let's be real here. 3-to-1 risk reward ratio. Am I taking it? No. I don't think I could ever live with myself if I got stuck with a bag of AMC at $40 when it's worth probably $4. So, but that's just me. But if you like AMC, if you got some buddies that you want to help support, if you and Trey are homies, Yeah, maybe not a bad trade to take, but not me. Newegg got that little push up and then blank. I mean, headed back down to our target, our next target. I mean, talk about nailing it with Newegg. I mean, what? I don't even remember. I think back here, Newegg was at $23. It's down over 50% since then. Nailed these moves on Newegg the whole way down. I mean, this thing is trash, obviously. I think I bought some of my computer parts from Newegg, though, so I hope they don't go out of business. I may need another computer sometime or some other parts. It was a good deal, too, so if their stock wasn't, I mean, their stock obviously is worth something because they're a real company, but what is it worth? Well, probably this amount. It's probably worth $10.82. So it's probably close to fair value now at $11.84. It's about $1 off. So maybe I'll take an entry down here. It looks like it's about to break out and get that move to the upside, but bunch of momentum. I think I've been considering taking a play on this like forever, and I just never have. Rather just buy some computer parts from them. I'll help support them the old-fashioned way by buying their products. DraftKings. Oh man, another one of Kathy's stocks that I called perfectly. Absolutely crushed. Broke down from support right here. You know, I really thought this was going to hold and was considering taking a scalp, but then I realized that whatever Kathy does just never works out. So I'm sure once it gets down here to a new low, she'll sell, and then it'll probably go to the high. When Kathy announces that she sold DraftKings, I'll buy in. Because whatever, I mean, if you trade opposite of what Kathy Wood does, you literally, like for this last year, you literally probably outperformed anything. It's so crazy. I mean, this should act as support right here. We got support right here. We got resistance right here. We got support right here. I mean, you take out that low right there, it's going to look real bad. It's trying to build. No divergence, really. Hard sell, breakdown. I mean, what happens if... What's that measure move going to look like? Oh, my God, Kathy. Oh, Kathy, no. $31? My queen. uh, there's no target. Oh, man. We'll see. We'll see. Does it get there? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, wait. Oops. Wrong one. Oh, no. 50%. When did Kathy buy? It was like over here. Oh, no. 31%. Oh, God damn it, Kathy. Stop it. Leave Kathy alone. All right. Let's finish up with some commodities and miners and whatnot. So gold looking strong. That was a nice strong close back above the 200 exponential and simple. We have the purple resistance. We have the red resistance. We reclaimed the ascending trend line, showing a little bit of strength here. So what we're being careful of is these. We don't want to see it top out right here at like 1827. We don't want to see it top out right here at 1867. What was the trade setup from the group? Ah, damn it. I can't remember what it was. Hang on. Let me look really quick. 1 second. Just a moment, please. Gold. Breaking descending channel, retesting for support. If it holds, measure, move, continuation target. 1890, which is the 618 orange. 1925, the 786 in red, or 1985. Breakout could lead to a silver pump and exponential move to the miners, especially juniors. Weakness, technical breakdown of the DXY and TNX will alleviate headwinds for metals. So obviously the breakdown of the TNX, has alleviated some of the pressure on gold. Remember what we were talking about? Gold basically has pressure from crypto, from the DXY, and from the TNX. So if crypto is strong and the DXY is strong, but TNX breaks down, gold could move to the upside. If all three of them break down, gold will definitely move to the upside. But any one of them showing weakness can respond in strength for gold. So our targets were, what did I say? 1890, 1925, and 1985. So 1890, right up here, slightly lower high. 1925 would be right around here. And then, yeah, so. So yeah, we already tagged the 382. So next target would be the 0.5, which would obviously line up perfectly with our 618 target, which is the 1913, and then the 786 is 1980, and then of course that's our 19 over $2,000. So yeah, I mean, looks okay for now. We definitely just want to see it break out of this triangle. If it can, it's going to look like a giant flag, and then I would expect a very nice measure move back up. So this green is the flag pole measure move, which is like 2,700. But I prefer like just to do the meat of the pattern. It's much more likely to play out, and then you close part of your position or just wait for the momentum. But that's going to take us up to, whoops. Yeah, new all-time high, 2,100. It's not much of an all-time high, but still. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Gold, again's got a lot of headwinds. So, and again, hard sell signal right here, but then it got a nice pop back up. It is back above the 200 exponential and simple, so that's good. Momentum in its favor. This is what we were talking about on the weekly too, where, we basically get the pushback up, fails, the pushback up, and we cross the 821. It's just starting to look more and more like this. Get the breakdown here, push back up, fails, push back up, triple topped, and then goes into a bear market. So really just got to be careful. I really got to see this thing get above 1900. If it gets back above 1900, it's going to look so much better and probably be going to all-time highs. If it does not, it's going to look like shit. But weekly is definitely picking up momentum, so that is definitely good. But, I mean, just having your money just sitting in gold for the last, however many months has been a terrible, terrible idea. Since August last year, over a year. Oh, wait. Yeah, August 2020. Yeah, that sucks. I mean, you got to just know when to move into a different space, capture the gains, and then come back. Or do what I do. I take profits, and then I use my profits off of my speculative assets to buy gold, and I treat gold and silver like a savings account. Or do both. I'll trade gold like paper gold or silver, but buy actual gold and silver like physical, with my gains as basically like a saving or de-risk. But don't get married to an asset and then just get drawdowns like this. A lot of people did it in crypto too. They're like, oh, if you just hold crypto from $20,000, you're up now 3x. Sure, what could you have done with that $20,000 Bitcoin if you sold out at 20 or 15 or something like that, and then rebought 5 Bitcoin at 3,000 or 3 Bitcoin at 5,000? Like, you're exponentially better. Then you'd have $200,000 instead of $60,000. So, I mean, it is what it is. Not everybody's a trader, but don't fall in love with assets. Silver looks much, much, much weaker. It stayed strong for a long time, but it looks very weak right now. Still well below 200 exponential and simple. If silver gets a pump back up to like 25.36, God, that's still $1.10 away. Man, it's got some momentum in its favor. I don't know. Doesn't look great. Gold silver ratio on the weekly, bouncing the 200 exponential. I expect this to come back up to 200 simple, 82 to 1. So that tells us probably gold is going to strengthen compared to silver. We are losing momentum on this though. Saying that basically gold is losing momentum versus silver, or silver is picking up momentum versus gold. But we're still well above the slope line. Bunch of red histograms in a row and a hard sell, but this just looks like a bullish reset before we push back up to like 81, 82. That fatty platty hit our first target to the upside. It still looks like on track to hit our second target, 1100. But this got a lot of headwinds, man. Like if the car industry is not doing great, and by the time they get their act together, we pulled forward a bunch of demand, and then on top of that, like EVs are on the horizon. Platinum's main use is like, catalytic converters. Same with palladium. Platinum and palladium probably not going to have a good next few years. And this is like the worst chart of any of the metals by far. Looks okay for now. Short term, definitely looks like it's going to get that pushback up here to like 1100, but I don't know, man. A lot of other places to put my money that look way better. So yeah, First Majestic. I mean, at this point in time, this 5-wave structure is like super invalidated, I feel like, unless we go to a longer time frame. Did it save it on the longer time frame? No, this thing's done. So yeah, any hope of that 5-wave playing out looks like crap. We did come back down inside of the flag, and then now we're back above it, so that's good. Finding resistance at the 8. Really want to close above here and then get a bounce. Starting to look decent on the weekly, closing above or pushing above there. Hard buy signal out of the bearish control zone. Bunch of green histograms. Strong move up here. Could First Majestic finally be bottoming? Or is this just a retest of 200 exponential? I mean, next move up is probably to $15. So another 10%. At that point in time, if it can regain the 200 simple, it's probably going to new all-time highs, which is another 100% move from there. And it probably goes well above that. I like where it's at now. It reclaimed the top of the triangle. If it just holds here for a little while and then pops up to 15 and holds there, it's going to look real good. It's probably almost time for the group members for the 10 under 10 plays. Maybe not as much of pot stocks, although I'm ready to dabble in those, but the miners. SILJ, again, just doing the same thing. Not quite as bullish looking as First Majestic, but its target's just going to be like $15. Very similar, though, in movement. But again, this is heavily weighted with First Majestic. One thing I do like about SILJ, though, is a lot of the other stuff that's in it is not available like separately, either in the United States or without going OTC. So it's nice to have some SILJ. USAS, finding some support here. Looks like it's trying to carve out a bottom off of that yellow support line. So far, this looks good. I mean, another 70% to go. Back up to the 0.5. Target being $1.55. After that, all the way to the top of the range, $2.77. Looks pretty good. Definitely starting to pick up a little momentum. Gonna have some trouble with the 200 exponential on simple, especially with that slope going like straight down. Tilray trying to carve out that bottom, still holding down here at support. I do like the little bit of aggressive. I mean, it's aggressive if you like zoom way in. You know, that little bit of buying coming in here. I do like that. Looks like it wants to carve out a bottom, picking up some momentum. Blue slope in its favor. Looking okay. And keep in mind, this was our macro target from way back here. Way back here before we even put in this high right here. And especially afterwards for the bottom of the 1. Or the bottom of the 4 from the top of the 1. For that 5-wave structure to play out. So the same way we were just looking at the invalidation on the miners. You know, Tilray, if that was our 1, that was our 2 pullback. This is our 3. This is our 4 pullback to the top of the 1. Just below the 618, which initially we pulled back to the 618. That would put our 4 Fibonacci extension. And again, this sounds crazy, but that puts our 4 up here, or our 5 rather, up here at like $922. $1,000 Tilray. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I mean, pot stocks look terrible, but that's the best time to buy them, right? When nobody's paying attention to them. No one cares about pot stocks. All they've done is go down since September of 2018. While everything else went parabolic. They have a nice little run right here, and now they're way back down. Give all that back. So now it's at $10, potentially about to go to 1,000. Potentially. Even if it just retests the previous all-time high. Even if it skips that wick and retests 165 from $10, it's 16x. That's what Bitcoin did. If it goes to 1,000 from 10, that's 100x. I'll give it a shot. I'll give Tilray a shot. I mean, that's island money. That's fuck you money. That's fucking spaceship money. All right, maybe not spaceship money. It's definitely fuck you money. It's definitely island money, okay? If we hit it big on our pot stock trades, I think we should all chip in and buy some islands. We could get like a couple like neighboring islands by each other in the Caribbean. Right near the beach, boy. Lord of mercy. ACB. Similar situation. Again, I mean, is this making a little tiny itty bitty head and shoulders? I mean, this did not play out. Obviously, it just went sideways way too long. We've seen that happen on a couple things. Doesn't mean this can't still have the similar, you know, psychology of like the neckline, whatever. It just means like the actual pattern itself didn't play out. We are starting to see, though, the exponential crossing back below the 200 simple. Well, they're basically on top of each other right now, which is not good. It means it's re-strengthening back down to the downside. But we do see blue slope line. We do see bearish control zone. No divergence playing out between these 2 points right here, but potentially, again, finding a bottom, and then maybe this will turn into like a little mini head and shoulders, little itty baby one. I mean, I don't like to just keep throwing patterns up here that don't play out, but, you know, the psychology behind it is you push down to a low, you take out that low, get everybody bearish, push down to the low again, and then it holds at the initial push, you know, and then basically moves back up. But I mean, that would give us the start of a bottoming pattern and, you know, potentially a nice move up here. And I mean, again, this thing has gotten absolutely wrecked. Pot stocks are terrible right now. Earnings coming up. Is it already priced in? Estimate was 48.2 million and minus 20 cents earnings per share. I mean, that little move back up here is going to start looking pretty juicy. What is this trade set up over here off in the distance? Forgot about you, little guy. Full disclosure, I do have positions in some of these pot stocks already, but I'm really looking to like get down and dirty when I start seeing some good signs from them. 168% move back to the 0.5 and the neckline of the macro head and shoulders. 22% stop loss if we take out the bottom of the little mini head and shoulders of the right shoulder of the big head and shoulders. You know, which again, this is all but invalidated at this point in time, but still worth looking at as this is like a clear resistance neckline. Yeah, I mean, that's juicy, 168% move. And then like just, I mean, might never get there. Maybe it never gets back to its all-time high, but from $6 to $143, what is that, 20x? I mean, it's not a Tilray move, but it's not bad. It's okay. It's worth getting out of bed for, you know? Not a beautiful candle. Probably not the actual bottom, but maybe. There's hope. CGC just got absolutely wrecked. I mean, got destroyed. It got volleyed. I mean, this thing just got wrecked city. You know, that's funny too, because it beat on earnings. The estimate was 112. Yo, you know what though? Didn't CGC just do an acquisition? Didn't they just buy another company? Man, it's so hard to tell anymore. They fudge these books so bad anymore. And there's so many tricky accounting tricks. I mean, ask Elon that it's impossible to even tell. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be tainted earnings. Revenue was 112 million. I'll have to look into this a little bit more and I'll talk to you guys about it maybe on Wednesday or maybe just in the group. But they just bought another company. So this may be like tainted. But they beat last time and then just got wrecked. Oh, but they did not beat on revenue. So reported was 109, estimate was 121, and then reported was, estimate was 112, and it doesn't say if they actually beat or not. I have to go look into it a little more. Yeah, I'll have to look into it a little more. I forgot they were reporting. But yeah, I mean, is this already priced in and then they beat? So now that's it? Maybe. Again, I'd rather see a bigger wick on this to tell me it was the bottom. But we were expecting it to get down here to the 886. So if that's our low and we come down to the 886 like all but, is that going to be like the macro low and then we put in a higher low and cruise up from here? Maybe. It's definitely worth paying attention to. I mean, obviously, I got very bearish on this once we broke down from that yellow support. But, you know, that was at $26. Now we're at $12. Like, is it time? Is it time to juice the CGC? $58 was the previous all-time high. So what is that? That's like a 5x. Not nearly as good, but also has a lot more history. Also a retest of the previous high right here was the 886, which is why we were paying attention to that. Yeah, I actually like how this looks. I mean, not right this second, but I like how it's starting to look. Something like that. Don't want to see it break down from there, but I mean, is this thing bottoming? Damn it. Wrong tool. Man, almost made it a whole stream without picking the wrong tool. Leave Kathy alone. %13 stop loss. A retest of the 0.5 is 93% move to the upside. 7 to 1, 6.7 to 1 risk reward ratio. Let's just assume this thing goes nuts to the upside and then fails and puts in a lower high again. What would that look like? I mean, that's probably a little aggressive, but 239% to the upside, 13% downside, 17 to 1, 17x. I mean, you could even, say if we took out this low right here for such a massive move like that, 27% stop loss, 239% move to the upside, almost 10 to 1, 9 to 1. Man, that's juicy. It might be about time to roll something up and smoke it, if you know what I'm saying. To pack up our accounts. You know what I mean? Know what I'm saying, man? Starting to look pretty juicy, guys. Uranium, URA, hit the move. We got it. 77% to the upside. You guys know how I feel about these. They're all pretty much doing the same thing at this point in time. Basically just putting in like some ascending triangles. Got to be real careful with these uranium stocks because we know that this is spot/sprott driven and that, these things have had a hell of a run already. So while I'm not bearish on uranium, short term, we have bearish divergence between these points right here, potentially putting in a third drive of bearish divergence, 1 right here, 2 right here, 3 right here at the top resistance of this triangle. So a breakdown back down to support right here would probably be a buying opportunity. And then also off the 200 exponential and simple, possibly even off that Fibonacci support down here if we overshot to like 21. So yeah, I mean, I think probably my target now is going to be like somewhere around here. I mean, arguably as high as like 24, but realistically, you don't want to get greedy on this and miss it running away, but triple bearish divergence on the daily after such a massive move and all this like favorable uranium talk tells me we're probably at the top. UEC, these all look the same. I mean, this one has just like been crushing lately, but they all look the same. And again, was this in the 10 under 10? Yeah, it was. Something like that. I mean, this one's a little less party, but you guys know what's up. Still could push up here a little bit here. This one does not have the third drive of bearish divergence, but technically, depending if it rolls over or not, could have between these two drives, and then this is just like a part of the other one. But between this and this, we have basically, again, this one's not as clean. But got to be careful with this one. But you guys know my target for UEC based on the 5-wave, is what, 588. So it's still got a little gas in the tank. Do we get there before a pullback? Probably not. Probably do get a little pullback here. CCJ, Cameco. I mean, oh no, what did I do? Oh my gosh, I don't even know what I did. What did I just click on? Oh, okay, this right here. Oh no, I don't even know what I did. Yep. Oh, okay, there we go. Whew. All right. We're okay. We're okay. So yeah, we got basically same type of thing. This one's pretty clean. Again, we're looking at potential triple bearish divergence here. At least double bearish divergence. Got to be careful with these. They look like they're getting ready to let loose. I don't like that we broke down from this channel, retested it, and then failed, and we're just floating up. I do think that, I mean, this still got a little ways to run potentially for our macro target, but realistically, I mean, we should be able to get a buy somewhere down here again, add to the position around where the 200 exponential and simple are, depending when this like lets go, and then obviously like, depending, and this could just keep running forever. But I mean, let's be real here. Do we get something like that plays out? Probably. But anywhere around there, I'm looking at that as a buying opportunity, honestly. And then URNM, same thing, bearish divergence between these points. It's the same thing. These are all the same. I mean, a breakout to the upside is definitely possible. This one's like a little bit more bullish of an ascending triangle. Measure move up to like 126. And I mean, again, I have positions in all these from various much lower prices. Copper. Excuse me. Hopefully I didn't just do that in the microphone. Copper inching up, losing momentum. There's a lot of headwinds for copper right now too, because China has substantially cut down on their copper purchases, and they are like the biggest like importer of copper like worldwide. So we could see some like serious pressure coming in here. I mean, it's hard to tell anything with China just because their numbers are like, obviously a little bit less than trustworthy, let's say, less than accurate. But in all reality, we're basically just flagging out at this point in time. I would love to see this come back down at least to the 236. We kind of front ran it, like for that little pullback right here a couple times, based off of the 200 exponential and simple, but we're definitely losing momentum. 200 simple above the 200 exponential, back down inside the bearish control zone, still blue slope line, but all red histograms below the zero line. I mean, I'm macro just so bullish on copper, but could it come back down to $21 before then? I mean, this is a copper index fund, but yeah, got to just let that play out a little bit. It's come so far already. Lithium looking nice here, overshot to 1.618. So technically above our target as of now. Still looks very strong. Still looks very strong. Starting to show our first little signs of weakness here on that previous daily. And we're basically at like 100. And there's not a lot of room left to run on these. 96, 97. I'm probably looking to just reaccumulate off of break of resistance, retest as support, and then continuation. You guys know I'm mad bullish on all these things. Hydrogen, copper, all the metals, all this stuff. Commodities in general. Obviously, I was one of the first people screaming commodities when nobody has talked about them for 20 years. Hydrogen, HYDR. This thing finally had a breakout, and a nice breakout. Expanded the range a little bit, which is good. Probably is topping out. Hard sell. Still well inside the bullish control zone. Couple red histograms. Could even put in a new all-time high before it pulls back. But realistically, what I want to see again is that break, retest, and then continuation. I'd like to go ahead and long this at like 25 or something like that. A little 10% pullback, and then probably much... I mean, topped out perfectly at the 1.618. That's beautiful. I honestly thought this was going to break down further. 1.382 we went down to. But it's all good. It happens. Can't nail them all. Lobster futures, LBS1. The head and shoulders still just playing out absolutely fucking beautifully. Been talking about it since the pre-entry back here. 38% move, 76% move. Played out perfectly. Rejecting it off the 200 exponential and simple. Lower high, back below the 8 and 21. Probably comes back down here to the neckline. Which point in time, when we get back down to like 450, we got to really pay attention to this. Bearish control zone below the slope line, below the zero line. Trying to push back up here. Probably just gets rejection and sees continuation. So, which is good because I'm looking to buy some wood, if you know what I'm saying. Got a little project I'm looking to do some work on. Grab up some of that timber. Caterpillar, a little rejection right here. Infrastructure plan did just get passed, so that is probably going to push this up here at least to the 200 simple, 214. I think probably this is going to retest the highs. This probably does go bullish here. I mean, I could be wrong. That was a beat on earnings. Got a nice little push up off that, but a surprise on revenue. God, their balance sheet looks like shit. I don't understand why it looks so bad. Deer and cat both. This is like asset to liabilities like 85% or some shit like that. Absolutely crazy. Other way around, I mean though. Yeah, 10% move back to retest that. Potentially back to all-time highs. 18% move. with a tight little stop loss, a tight little stop loss. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens in pre-market. Because if it just like shoots up before I can get anything in here, I'm probably not going to mess with it. But if I can get a quick little trade in for a potential like 3-to-1 risk reward, just for a retest of a lower high or potentially retest of the previous high, that could be a nice little trade. And I am bullish on this on the macro, but I really think cat and deer are going to have more downside. 18% with a 3% stop loss, 6-to-1. Yeah, could look juicy. Getting towards the end, guys. Staying strong, staying long. What are we at? 2:39. Okay, perfect. Right at that 3-hour mark. It's almost like clockwork. Takes me the exact same amount of time every time to look at the same assets. That's so crazy. Deer looks good. Still operating inside that same range. Slightly more bullish. Probably does jump up to like 373. This is technically probably less influenced by the infrastructure plan. And they do have all those strikes and everything going on right now. Yeah, probably just continues chopping around here. Overall, though, reclaiming that 200 simple, that is definitely good. AM Antero midstream found support right at our entry right here, perfectly at the top of the range right there. I do think this trade setup still plays out to the upside. Looks like it's trying to carve out a bottom right here, leaving the bullish control zone, hard buy signal, bearish control zone, hard buy signal. 25% move back up to the 786 with a little aggressive stop loss, 10%. At this point in time, though, as soon as this thing starts moving in our favor, I probably move the stop loss up to like 5% or maybe even entry, depending how aggressive it is. Right now, I'll leave it. Also have, obviously, my entry from before and still part of my position open. But looks good. Definitely looks good for this to play out. So Cemex, breakdown below 200 exponential and simple, rolling over. We already got the retest. Do we get another retest back to like 750 or does this just let go? We're definitely seeing a little bit of bullish divergence here. If we see one more green histogram come in, that's going to look good. We do not have bullish divergence on the stochastics, but we do on the TJD, TDMACD. If we do see a second day of bullish divergence on the histogram, I would expect at least a push back up to like $7, but I don't know. I still have a little position open in this. I'd probably be looking to exit, honestly. We'll have to see how this develops. I'm not looking to take on another position here. I don't think there's enough meat on the bone. But again, this one could see a juicy move off that infrastructure. $6 stop for a retested 200 simple and that green breakdown would be 17%. Man, that's like almost 3-to-1. Yeah, good. That's an arguable position right there. Oof. CLF, top back out, that double top like we were discussing. Selling back off, bleeding out below the 821. Again, though, infrastructure could really do some work on this. Probably retest the highs. I mean, like target to downside is like 21. Target to upside is like 26. And we're at 22 right now, so almost got me. I mean, but if it retests the highs again, it's probably going to break out. Man, it looks like we got a little bit of an ascending support line right there as well. I mean, you could probably tighten this up a little. I don't know. I would hate to get stopped out and then it runs. That's like 3-to-1 risk reward ratio. Back to retest the highs. And then if it does retest the highs, let's be real, it probably runs. I mean, we've been waiting for that 3 to get hit and it never quite got there. Is this that push? It probably is. 54% to the upside, 6.7. That's almost 10-to-1 risk reward ratio. Come fucking on. Infrastructure in the house. I can't remember who it is who was all over this, but it's very juicy. Ford. I mean, I've been telling you guys about Ford forever. If you don't have a position on Ford, I don't know what you're waiting for. We've been discussing this. Obviously not financial advice, but reclaimed the ascending channel. Outperformed Tesla year to date. Looks juicy. God, what was our entrance on Ford? Wasn't it $7? think it was $7. Oh yeah, let's go Ford. Up 157%. Nice. GM, slightly less good, but still good. Hasn't taken out that high right here. I think it's probably coming back up to retest it though. $65. But again, why not just play that Ford play or an ETF? GM's not bad though. I give it a lot of flack, but Hasbro trying to reclaim 200 exponential and simple. Really got to break above this resistance in red right here. If it does, immediate test back to like $100. But this thing, until I see this thing consolidating above $100, you guys know how I feel about this. I think it probably gets rejected here and comes down to 80. I think there's a much higher likelihood that we see lower prices than higher. But we are going into Christmas, so who knows? How did that earnings play out? And the dividend. And I think we were talking about it almost always tops at the dividend. Not here. That was like a bottom at the dividend. But here was a top right after the dividend. Here was a top right after the dividend. Here was a top right after the dividend. And then here's probably going to be a top right after the dividend. So, and I mean, that was barely a beat. Not bad on earnings, but revenue was like basically just a hit, not a miss, nothing to write home about. Yeah, I mean, it probably tops out and comes back down to like 90. But I mean, at some point in time, this is going to break in one direction or the other, and it probably does break to the upside for Christmas, I would think, for the holidays. Works. I mean, there's a strong argument to take this position right here. I don't think I took it yet. I got to put that one on the list to look at tomorrow. Yeah, that's a nice setup. 68% upside, 9% downside. You could arguably have a tighter stop than that if you wanted to. Definitely looking like it's bottoming here. Hard buy signal coming out of the bearish control zone. Bunch of green histograms about to cross over the slope line. Still below the zero. Still below the 200 exponential and simple. But it's been chopping sideways for so long. And there's just so much upside potential on this thing if it just decides to get its nut. Yeah, I mean, this could get crazy. Could get fucking wild. And the scalps have been working out real nice on this. I mean, and this looks like before, like it had one little time right here where it tried to bottom and then flipped the 200 exponential and simple back over and then broke down lower. But you still could have got an exit way later, but man, it wouldn't have been good. A little touch right here, but now, you know, crossing 200 exponential and simple back over sort of looks like this again. But we didn't really have that same, like, yeah, we did have a little ascending trend line support right there. I don't know. Could it break down and put in new lows below $1? Sure. I mean, but at that point in time, you know, it's just pennies away from zero. Yeah, I'm going to take another stab at this. I think I have a really small position in this. I'm pretty sure I do. Wait, do I? I can't remember. It's hard to keep track. Nothing to write home about. I know that. And then any sphere. Still waiting for this to keep selling off here. You guys know where my target is. Still back down here. 278. I mean, that's over 50% down from where it was, but we had a beautiful scalp on this. I'm not going to get greedy, though. If it starts getting down near these levels or towards the heart line, I may take like another short-term scalp. Again, this thing has massive upside potential. If this giant ascending, or I mean giant inverted head and shoulders plays out, I mean, this thing's going to get us our nut. This little trash bag company. $317. Does it get there? No, it never does. But from $3 to 300, 100x. I read somewhere that they were buying miners and they were mining Bitcoin. So could this be like the macro bottom and then it really does go back to $300? I mean, this is like the micro strategy of like tech. It was at $2,259. Does it ever go back there? No, probably not. That was in 2014. It probably never gets back there. Could it go to 300 though? Maybe. Maybe if all the game stalkers and all the AMCers and all the silverbacks get together and we all just pump up any sphere and then we get Michael Saylor on board and Elon Musk buys some too, we could do it, guys. We could do it. 100x. Hooray! Earnings coming up. I mean, it's probably going to get wrecked on earnings because it doesn't actually do anything. So, that could be our catalyst to get it at $3. So we'll see. We're getting close. Walmart, bearish engulfing candle doesn't look great. Took out that little high right there, so that is definitely good. Well, kind of did. Is that just going to be a double top breakdown? I don't know, man. If they start charging people to live in their parking lots, they'll probably do well. I think that could be the earnings boost they need going into the holidays. I know that's not funny. It sucks if you have to live in Walmart's parking lot, but hopefully it never comes to that for most of us. What kind of decisions did you make in your life if you're living in a Walmart parking lot? $100. And I only say that because they have signs all over that say you can't live in our parking lot. But, I mean, there is people living in Walmart parking lots, but we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Walmart's the lifeblood of America, in my opinion. So, Walmart and the Dollar Tree. If we go into recession, I'm all in Walmart and Dollar Tree. Did still have that gap down here at 149. I think this thing's getting ready to rip down. Gain a little momentum to the upside. Bullish control zone. Blue slope line. I don't like that bearish engulfing candle. Probably does have some downside. I think it found support about 142. Let's see though. We'll see what happens. I mean, this move to the upside was kind of surprising. That is the gap fill. It's also the 200 exponential and simple moving average. It's also the 618. So, I mean, realistically, that's probably a pretty good target to load back up. I mean, it's not that. It's like 4%, 5% to the downside, though. Not going to get rich off the old Walmart trade. But yeah, that's it. We did it. We did it. We made it to the end, guys. We nailed all the assets. We even did that little like recap at the beginning about all the crushing ass trades we had over the last like couple weeks. The massive drawdowns, the huge pumps, the dumps, the tears, the sadness, the happiness, the smiles, the cry smiles. All that good stuff. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the stream today. I'm going to jump in the comments real quick and see what's up. We got Bubblies in the house. We got our kids in the house. We got a bunch of other people creeping in the shadows, not saying anything. That's okay, man. I never talk or comment on people's videos. Ba-bum-bum. Still in FTM at $2. Nice, bro. I'm glad. I know you had a couple like where you got stopped out on or kind of missed the boat or whatever. So I'm glad to hear a couple of these bad boys finally hit for you. And that's what it is, man. It's probability. We don't catch them all. It's easy to look back and say, damn, I wish I would have, you know, or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, when it's all said and done, you know, the strategy we use, the technicals, the, you know, all the different things we have, risk reward ratio, you know, the probability of success, you know, proper position size and, you know, management. I mean, in the end, it's proven successful. It's proven successful. I mean, I've proven it. You guys, most of you have proven it over time already. You see these trade setups play out one after another after another. You know, we did the little recap at the beginning of like, you know, 8 stocks that this week exploded. We had the BAT move. You had that FTM move. That CXB or whatever the hell that other one was. I mean, you see it happening over and over again. The Matic one the week before that. I mean, it's just one after another. Once you get, I mean, I've spent literally thousands and thousands of hours and literally years and designing indicators and trade setups and strategies and everything. And, you know, we see over and over again it works. So that's all you got to do. It's just a time thing. You know, you could hit it on something like SHIB and just go all in for $8,000 and become a billionaire. Sure, you could. It's possible. I mean, one dude did it. But, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind being a billionaire. But, I mean, consistent gains over time is what it's all about. It's easy to make money. It's hard not to lose it. So that's the most important thing for us is, you know, capital preservation, consistent wins over time, protecting our account balance more than anything, and growing it. You know what I mean? So be able to capitalize on all these further moves to the upside. And then when the big implosion does happen, when the bubble bursts, you know, we'll be able to stay out of the way of it and then just reaccumulate at the bottom. You know, and I mean, look, it's really looking like pot stocks and miners could potentially be getting ready to explode to the upside. So, and that's that life-changing money. I mean, crypto bull run was amazing. You know, was amazing, but there's a bull run somewhere. It's like Jim Cramer says, man, and I try not to listen to anything he says, but there's always a bull market somewhere. So whenever the crypto one tops out or wherever the stock one tops out, you know, maybe commodities keep running. Maybe it's uranium. Maybe it's metals. Maybe it's pot stocks. You know, maybe it's, I don't even know, whatever the next one is. Maybe it's the metaverse. Maybe it's the metroverse, whatever. Could be anything. So, but yeah, that's it for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate the comments and interactions. I will see everybody in the group there. I will talk a little bit more about the ones I specifically discussed and what we were taking a look at. Sorry about the confusion with the times there. I knew that the rollback was coming up and completely forgot about it. I will decide, and I'll make sure to post up the stream time like ahead of time. I've been kind of slacking lately. I try to do it 2 hours at a time. Lately, I've been doing it like an hour ahead of time. But I will try to post it well in advance for Wednesday's stream so that you could be ready for it. Because I really don't know. I'd rather do it at like 7 my time now because that's when the market closes. But also having that extra hour, because I do mess with my position sometimes based on like daily closes. Having that extra hour before we start is kind of nice as well. So I might just leave it at 8 EST my time, which is when I started today. So, but that's it for today, guys. It is 11/7/2021, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. Make sure you take care of yourself, take care of your family, preserve your capital, and lock in those gains, boys, and potentially girls, but I doubt it. Yeah, that's it for tonight. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Appreciate everybody in the group, everybody showing their support. Let's kill it. Another week. Let's put another week in the books and some mad gains. Let's go, crypto trend trader. And I'm out of here.